2+2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, Ben Tollerene, Farah Fath, and Phil Galfond. Now, here they are. One of them plays nosebleeds, the other one just gets them. Phil Galfond and Adam Schwartz.
Yo, 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 welcome to the Pokercast, the poker knowledge blizzard for all the internet poker wizards. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz, the 08 King, the machine that goes ping. I'm the podcast equivalent of Deng Xiaoping. And sitting by my side is my poker guide, my rising tide, my access denied, my odds implied. He ain't stateside. Is he Jekyll or Hyde? Not Bonnie, he's Clyde. Hates to take the elevator, so he installed a slide. It's P. Galfond. Yo, P, tell him how you feel.
Hey, man.
I can't believe I did it in one take. That's like the first time that's ever happened. I had a line for Phil that he probably doesn't want to read, but here it is. It's, yo, I'm all fired up like Helmuth on coke and making more dough than Douglas Polk. No?
Are we supposed to, like, react?
I don't know. This is this goofy thing we do as an intro lately. We should probably put it to bed because everybody is... embarrassed for me, I'm sure.
I should have beatboxed for it.
You could have, yeah. So welcome to the 2+2 Pokercast, joined this week by a cast of characters. Thanks so much for coming in, everybody. Phil Galfond, of course, who's been in studio before, his lovely girlfriend, Farah, and Ben Tollerene, his friend. Welcome, everybody, to the show.
Thanks. I thought your rap intro was very clever.
You liked it?
Yes, I really, really did.
One person liked it. I'm up to one.
I think it's talent.
I also think the poker world knows Ben is more than my friend. Tollerene.
Did I? Is that how I introduced him?
Yeah.
Phil's friend.
Well, you know what? It was a transference thing. I apologize. Of course, Ben Tollerene, the PLO machine.
Same, being Phil Galfond's friend.
Hey, I can play other games as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Triple draw and the like, for sure. And Farah, thanks again. Everybody loved you last time you were here.
That's so nice.
We've got to point you to the thread. There was some great... for those that don't know, you were an actress on Days of Our Lives and One Life to Live.
Yes.
For a long time, many years.
Most of my life.
Most of your life?
Mm-hmm.
Soap operas are fascinating to me. I used to live with a guy who was right into another world. This is years ago. I'm much older than you guys, but it was funny because I'd come home and then by osmosis, I started caring about this show because it was on all the time, and I'm like, okay, wait, didn't she die like a month ago?
That's how people get sucked in. My babysitter watched Days of Our Lives from the time I was like 7, and every summer we'd be home with her, and we weren't allowed to go outside between 1 and 2 p.m. We had to stay in and watch Days of Our Lives, and it became my favorite show at 8 years old.
Serious?
Yeah. And in fact, I was on... Days at such an early age that Another World was still on the air.
Going.
Yeah, and it aired right before Days, so I am familiar with Another World. But that bit the dust a while ago, as did One Life to Live, and that's kind of where I stopped acting on soap operas. I think I'm done.
You're done with those?
Yeah. It was a nice ride while it lasted.
It's got to be funny who some of the people that watch that, because if you asked somebody to bet on if I've ever watched it, you would say no. But
it's bizarre. Like I've had some pretty unique individuals approach me, i.e., Julia Roberts,
Really?
Shaquille O'Neal, Christina Aguilera.
Wait, Shaquille
Britney
O'Neal
Spears.
Watched Days of Our Lives?
Yes, he came to our set a couple times. He was a huge fan. He took pictures with everyone.
That's
yes,
awesome.
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Didn't you say that Snoop Dogg?
Oh, Snoop Dogg loved One Life to Live. He grew up on it. He begged to be on the show all the time. He wrote an intro for us. He was on the show quite frequently as a guest star. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it's, you never think, like, especially when you get involved in something so young and you're just doing it every day and it becomes second nature, you just have no concept of, millions of people are watching you every day and they could be celebrities. So, yeah, that's always funny when I meet someone and I'm excited to meet them, but like they know who I am, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really
strange.
Surreal.
Yeah. Are you playing much poker these days?
I am playing a little bit actually. Now that I'm here and in Vancouver and can play online again. So
Yeah. And
I play recreationally, but I try to play well. Phil made me get a what did you make me get? A tracker?
Poker tracker.
Yeah. He made me get one of those this week.
Tracker?
He's trying to see if I can move up in stakes.
what stakes are you currently toiling in?
Well, she's very attracted to the Spin and Gos.
Spin and Gos are fun.
They are.
I mean, if you yeah.
Well, I'm a huge Wheel of Fortune slot enthusiast.
Oh, perfect.
So I kind of get that same thrill with the Spin and Go. But I like regular sit and goes as well, and I dabble in MTTs and
yeah. So she was playing the Spin and Gos. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
You'll hear from me when we get home.
Yeah, she was playing, and I don't know. Normally, when somebody's playing poker in front of me, they ask me about the way that they're playing, and she doesn't really do that.
So you got to tell her. You instead.
Well, I try to, but
he makes me play bad. I don't like when he watches me, and I feel pressure.
Which is understandable. But anyway, so I thought it'd be a good idea to get the tracker, and she was just playing the $1 Spin and Gos.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, how about play 100 of them, and if you're winning more than 40%, you should move up.
And I go, babe, I played over 100, and I said, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm at 48. I thought he had told me 50%.
But they're three-handed, 40%.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So then she moved up, and now she's at threes.
And now, but I dropped my ITM. Mm-hmm. I did quotation marks, people.
Those are
with
air
my
quotes.
Fingers, air quotes. Has dropped to 39%. So I'm not going to be able to move up to the $7 until I do another 100.
But what I'm hoping is that when she gets to the point where she can't move up, then she'll seek some more of my
She'll go,
expertise.
wait a second.
Yeah,
Phil, I can't get past this one level. Need a little help.
Ask me one single question.
I think I know everything.
Yeah.
Have you hit any huge spins, like Spin and Go? Jackpot?
10 times the jackpot is the most
10 times the biggest
I've
one?
Seen.
Yeah.
Phil's played them too. He can't sit here and act like I'm the only Spin
No,
and Go
I know.
addict.
I've played the 30s.
I wanted him to play for my own entertainment, but now I think he actually really likes them.
It's kind of fun.
Thank you.
Do people freak out when
a lot of people chat, and also, but it's tough because when I play them, I like to play 6, and they're hypers, so I don't really have time to chat. Back. So
I like watching it when people hit the super jackpot and then they're trying to figure out how they can make a deal, but it won't let them.
No, there's no deals to be made.
Okay, send me 10K.
No,
promise to send me 10K.
Did they say that?
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a good idea. For anybody out there, don't trust.
It's winner take all? That's the format?
Yeah, it's winner take all.
No, the super jackpots, they have a set.
Oh, that's right.
They're
The super
small.
jackpots aren't. Yeah.
But I was under the impression that if you got over a certain amount, they let you make a deal.
They don't.
No.
So,
wow.
Farah, you're winning 48%.
That's
of
pretty
your
crazy.
singles?
Yeah.
Well, she
You
won
might have
48% of over $101, three-handed, and then she's won 38 or 39% of the $3. So she's not ready to move. She needs to hit 40 to move up.
Is she making money at that rate? Is she beating whatever the rate is?
In theory, yes, but there's in theory, she's definitely making money.
There's
but
variance
there's
in
variance
the-
involved.
in the
I think that
size
she won in the
the payout.
ones and she's down in the threes, even though she's winning.
I'm only
30.
down $6.
No, I'm.
Ben, have you got past the $1 Spin and Goes?
I think that he's not a fan of the Spin and Goes.
My Spin and Go experiences, I played one.
You did?
$30, of course.
Yeah.
And I hated the little slot machine roll to see how much your prize was.
That's the best
I felt like I was in Palace Station or something. I just felt so. It's not poker to me.
Yeah.
And then of course my prize pool was 2 buy-ins for a 3 buy-in
Yeah.
sit and go.
Yeah.
And I just
were
absolutely.
tilted.
Well, that's what it is.
I hated
75% of the time.
And the rake's not even listed, which really bothers me.
Yeah,
I'm not a
it's all
fan
about
at all.
the spin.
It's
So
all about
if you don't
spin.
like the spin, then this is not for you.
It's like
But that is
crack.
there's the argument there is you like the spin so much, which I mean it's fun. I'm not going to say it's not fun.
It's kind of like
but
playing
because-
a slot at
right,
home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
That's not poker
Which
to
is
me
not
at
poker.
all.
It's not. That's
It's moving that way, though, right? I mean, that seems to be sort of.
But the one thing that I noticed is that when I played a lot of the 30s, and it's been a very long time. It's been 10 years, 9 years. But I was a sit and go pro for a long time, and I played the 33s. And this was 9 to 10 years ago when the games were really soft. And these 30s were the same.
Really?
They were soft.
Is that right?
And I think, you just get people shoving 25 big blinds first hand with whatever they have because they got the 2 buy-in one and they
They're
don't want to be
tilted.
there. And and then nobody. there were not a lot of good players. I haven't played a ton of them. I probably played 100, but I would imagine I don't play the $30 regular sit and goes.
Yeah,
but I would.
They have to be softer.
I would imagine these are much softer.
Definitely.
And so I mean, I agree that it does make it less of a skill game and more of a chance game. But if that is what's needed to bring people in that just want to gamble, it's like it's going to create more variance for the pros for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of what's
the pros
necessary
may not like it,
to keep
but
the game
people
going.
like me who just like to play for fun.
But we need
it's
fish.
right
we need
fish
who
right
it's
up
about.
my
Yeah.
alley.
Yeah, that's
we
who
need
it's
fish
about.
like Farah to keep the games running.
Fish. She's kind of 48% of her
I know, I was
window.
joking.
That's no fish. We're heading to Macau next week. The Pokercast is off to Macau to cover the APPT Championship. We're excited.
You're really going there?
Yeah.
We're really going there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I was curious about you guys. Obviously, the big nosebleed games are over there. Phil, you mentioned you'd never been over there. Ben, any desire at all to head over to that kind of thing, or is there just too much of a? We all hear about the fact that you've got to be in the right crowd, and there's a big pain in the ass to get money over there. And I mean, have you ever kind of said, well, maybe it's worth it. Maybe I should go over.
It may be worth it, but I can't even get in a game at Aria or Bellagio. So
Is that right?
I really can't.
So I've thought about it too.
I didn't even go this year
To the World
You didn't go to
Series?
the series.
I totally skipped it because last year I showed up at Aria every night with huge games running, and they never let me play. They showed up. Oftentimes the PLO game would show up all together at the same time, and I've been on the wait list by myself for 3 hours, and then the game's full. It was, I mean, it's so corrupt and it's so brutal.
Both of us have very little tolerance. Like it just is very unfun in that environment.
That part of it.
Yeah, and sometimes you can kind of succeed in that world. And if you're very pushy and you're always there at the right time and you push the floor man, like, this is obviously against the rules, you need to let me in the game. And then eventually you get a seat in the game and every single person there doesn't want you there. And it's just like it's
not worth it.
It's not pleasant. So I know I speak for both of us. I have very little tolerance, and it's just makes me unhappy to be there. So even if it's worth a little money, it's just not worth it.
My best friend plays in Macau a lot, and she and her boyfriend have given us a lot of insight as to whether we should go or not. Mm-hmm. And basically we were told that there's only a couple weeks out of the year that it would be beneficial for Phil to go. And we just have kind of decided as of this point, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
They're speaking about everything but the big game, which with the big game, I don't even know if I could get in or not, and I don't think you can never depend on it. But yeah, it sounds like the rest of it is dried up compared to years ago.
In Macau, the lower, sort of mid-range games.
Yeah, like 51.
Yeah. Well, I heard those games are still great, actually. I heard 51 no limit's real juicy still.
They're saying not so much, but it depends who you ask.
It probably depends when you're asking about stuff. Yeah. And anyway, it should be interesting. But I'm curious about the World Series one. You were saying you can't get into the game as the area. Is that one's run by JRB, right?
Oh, that game's a joke.
That's different.
I have no chance to get in that game.
No.
That game's like the biggest hoax of all the games. But I mean just the 1-2, 2-4, PLO, whatever. It ran all the time, and not once did I play.
I remember Greg Merson had a big blow up about that. He wasn't allowed to play No Limit Hold'em, and it seemed like,
Ben, why don't we give you an alias? I'll bleach your hair blonde. Stop working out, and we'll get you in the game.
Put a couple of LBs on.
Yeah.
And glasses and a mustache.
I'd be totally up for trying. I'd love to get
the LBs on.
dungeons in those games.
It's fun. It's fun to play a high stakes PLO live. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But
you could hire a professional makeup artist.
Yeah, you
to
pull
put,
the Phil
prosthetics
Lack.
on
The
you.
Phil Lack, who did the old guy at the World Series. You could do that.
Some old rich fish.
Watch how fast you get in the game then.
Let's do it. I'm up for that.
You just crush their souls.
That would be great. Yeah. We're heading off to Macau. That should be a lot of fun. So this is the part of the show in the first segment we do, in case you missed it, and it's certain things about the poker world that have happened, and we shoot them around a bit. So let's do that. This week, Daniel Negreanu and Jack McClellan were voted into the Poker Hall of Fame. There was 10 guys. Daniel, obviously, a no-brainer. He's going to get in there as soon as he's eligible at 40. Jack McClellan, I think a lot of people, including myself, were surprised. He's a tournament director. They sort of it's a World Series of Poker Hall of Fame. Let's face it, it's run by Harrah's and Caesars, so it's skewed towards that. But there was guys like Ted Forrest, or lots of other guys on that list that are poker players that really kind of, if you think about the actual poker, like this guy is a poker player. Ted Forrest is a poker player. He's not a PR guy. Like he's never going to make a ton of friends in the poker world. But when you're talking about the Hall of Fame of poker, this is a guy who literally grinds poker nonstop, and he has for a long time, and very well. So it's this weird thing. I have this problem with the Hall of Fame in general, but I was wondering to get your guys' opinion, everybody, what you think of the Poker Hall of Fame, so to speak.
I mean, there's so many different aspects of poker that it's hard to call something a universal Poker Hall of Fame. Like it's always going to leave out some demographic or some aspect of it, and I don't know. It is what it is, and I think that, I believe what they say is they're looking for people with like a large impact on the poker world and poker history, and obviously people that have been playing a long time and successful people. I'm not sure the exact criteria, but those are what the criteria are, and I don't actually understand the process. They have certain people that vote. Yeah,
so it's this weird process of being nominated. So the World Series of Poker or Caesars opens up the nomination process, and they take submissions from the public on who they think should be in the Hall of Fame, and then they take that list and they pick and choose. Seems like who they want to be the nominations, because
sounds a little bit like the Emmys.
Is that right? I don't know anything about the Emmys.
There's pre-nominees, and then they pick. Yeah.
It's a political exercise,
totally.
Right? Yeah, and that's what it seems like a little bit. But I was thinking there should be an Internet Poker Hall of Fame. Because Internet poker players really are never, ever going to be in the Poker Hall of Fame, let's face it, unless they go and play live and all of a sudden dominate forever. But Internet poker is big enough itself, and presumably could have a Hall of Fame.
In theory, yeah, but who's the authority that
I could start it?
You could just start
Farah is the authority.
I'm
she
start
decides.
it. You two are my first nominees. Congratulations.
Who would? Okay, if you had to pick 5 people for the Internet Poker, without trying to figure out exactly, what the criteria would be. Who, off the top of your head, pick 5 people on who would be. Yeah, obviously, you're not going to include yourself, but who would you put in there?
I would try to think. I'm trying to think of old school people. So
yeah,
I think
Johnny.
I think like Prahlad.
Yeah.
Johnny Lawden.
Eric Sagstrom.
Yeah, probably.
Eric 1, 2, 3.
I think Tom Dwan gets in there too. I would think of Blood, Sweat, Tears on Party Poker. I still don't know who he is.
Who is that? I don't remember.
He changed No Limit.
Really?
Yeah, he was. He came into 1020 on Party, had completely crushed, more than anybody else, and did so while everybody thought that he was bad.
Was he lagged? What was he doing?
He 3-bet worse hands than queens. Like people at that time were just like, when they 3-bet, they had jacks or queens plus, and they had ace king and ace queen, and I can still remember, and this is kind of embarrassing to say, but it was like my first year playing cash. And Sit and Gos didn't really prepare you for cash. So like I was not at my peak of my poker career back then. But I just remember playing with him, and he was just 3-betting so much, and I kept thinking like, oh man, when I get a hand, I'm gonna get him. And like he'd 3-bet me, I'd call, I'd miss, I'd fold on the flop. He'd 3-bet me,
I'd free roll you.
Yeah, and then one time I got aces, and he 3-bet me, and I 4-bet, and he folded. And I was
like, wait, something happened.
Yeah, but he changed the game quite a bit, and yeah, he crushed.
Won a lot of money.
I still don't know who he is. I don't know. I understand he was a pretty private guy, but
yeah. So he'd be one of the guys. Ben, anybody you can think of that you would throw into the Internet Poker Hall of Fame? Maybe more recent guys.
Internet Poker Hall of Fame. What's the goal of a Hall of Fame? What are you trying to capture there?
I think the goal would probably be to glorify those that have kind of stood out in Internet poker for a long period of time. We've had a lot of guys come and go and be on top for a short period of time. But I think you probably want to whittle it down to people who, like Phil said, either changed the game or stayed on top for an extended period of time.
So change the game or stayed on top. And I can't pick Phil because Phil's.
Well, I think Phil would be an obvious
one.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
Yeah,
because he's still around and
Phil
he's been around.
Clearly would be in there.
OMG Clay Aiken's probably at the top of the list.
The G-Bucks article.
That alone would get him in, yeah.
I don't even know what the G-Bucks is.
It's like
a long article.
First time everyone
I'll let you read
started
it one day.
That's a few hours of explain. Yeah,
instead of hands, basically. The name that pops in my mind is CTS actually, because
Cole South.
He was always playing all the tables all the time when I was coming up, and he still plays and wins today. He sort of opened up the 40 VPIP 35 raise first in 6 max game when everybody was playing their like 18-15 style, and he just won the blinds
nonstop.
Yeah, so CTS definitely. Got to throw Gus in there. He's been heroic for
the other way. Gus would be in the Hall of Fame.
Game changer.
Yeah. Speaking of that, let's talk about Gus. If you guys are okay to do that, he obviously has been let go by the professionals. The FTP sponsorship is no more. He's crossed the $20 million. I'm not sure if he's still there or not, or he's got to be close to it. The $20 million loss his lifetime. I don't understand the whole phenomena of, or the way he thinks about poker. I would love to talk to him and ask him. And I've actually tried to get him on the show again. He's been on a few times, but this need for him to play against the greatest in the world at whatever discipline that they're playing, it's at the highest stakes.
I think it's more about playing high stakes, I would assume, than playing the specific opponents. But I don't know that for a fact. I mean, I talked to him a little bit, but I don't really know.
Right.
But I would assume he just wants to play the highest stakes.
Yeah.
And consequently, you're often up against the toughest opponents.
So, at some point, let's say Gus walks away from poker. How does that, we're talking about a lot of money injected into the high-stakes community. That's going to have a big effect on what's going on online, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
If Gus and Victor don't keep spinning rolls, or I don't know where Gus's money comes from, but if Victor doesn't spin rolls up and Gus is gone, nosebleeds, as far as PLO concerned, just don't exist.
Well, there have been different people over the years. Like the high stakes, the nosebleed online economy is very fragile because it needs some kind of injection of money. It needs a game starter. And over the years, there have been different ones, and it varies so much, like month to month. I mean, obviously, for a long time, a lot of games ran around Guy.
Yeah.
There was Cadillac, who a lot of games ran around, created a lot of action. Through different years, and people come and go. I think that, I don't know, there always could be a new person, a new few people that come in and like the games kick up. And it's been weird. I know for both of us, like in the last, I don't know, year, the nosebleeds, they're running less and less frequently. And so there are just periods of time where like we might just be grinding for 2 months playing 25-50 Zoom, and then all of a sudden 200, 400, 300, 600 is running.
Kicks off.
And then you just have to completely change your mindset. And for me, especially because I play other games, like right now I'm just getting kind of back into focusing on PLO and on Zoom because I was playing so much triple draw. But I've gone back and forth, and like if triple draw next month starts running at 2K, 4K all the time, well, now I have to remember how to play triple draw and focus on that again and leave PLO aside. You kind of just have to be very adaptive because of the economy and the way games run.
Next thing is the Game Show Network is looking to bring back high-stakes poker. And, it seems like anyway. They put out a survey to a lot of poker players at different sites on asking questions about different hosts and would they like to see high-stakes poker come back.
LOL documents.
That's the LOL documents. So, Phil, you've spent some time on high-stakes poker. I spent a couple of minutes watching some videos, from that you were on high-stakes poker. I want to get your impression on, first of all, happy that it would be coming back.
I'd love for it to come back. I think a lot of people would love for it to come back. I mean, I have friends that are even full-time players. I don't watch it so much anymore, but I have still friends that are full-time players that just love watching it.
Yeah.
For fun, and obviously
reruns now.
Yeah, the reruns. Yeah,
that's probably part of it. But it's really fun to play on. I think, I mean, without getting into a long discussion, there's been a lot of concern about the fact that like a lot of the players that create the action, like towards the end, it was hard to get people to come into the game because the games were too tough. Like that, like
Really?
a lot of the
The lineup.
name pros were not getting their money from, like, they were not getting paid by Full Tilt or PokerStars to come play it, and the lineup they were getting tougher and tougher because of internet kids, and
So it was Ivy, Dwan, Antonius,
Yeah.
yourself.
Really
And you-
use your own money on that show.
Yeah. And you lose the guys like, maybe, like, for example, I'm not saying him specifically, but guys like Matisau or somebody who, like,
Yeah.
no longer can get people, like, either wants to put his own money up or wants to get people to buy pieces because they're like, well, I don't mean him specifically, by the way.
No,
But
of
just like
course.
your
Yeah.
TV pros that are very entertaining and people have loved to see for years. But I think that like, I've been on a couple times and I haven't, my first experience was not great, but I
Not
haven't.
great in results-wise, or that you didn't enjoy it?
Well, it was just, it's a long story, but, like, I don't think that I did it right. And basically, like, I didn't treat it like a TV show, and consequently, like, I didn't get much time to play. And I think that there's a lot of people concerned about the fact that guys like us will not be entertaining TV. But I think what people don't understand is that, like, a lot of what has made it great in the past is that all those guys have played together forever and are friends and are comfortable. And then you throw one of me into the mix. I don't know them, and it's not going to be like we're hanging out, and I'm not going to act like. But, like, if you
But
throw
now you
like
do.
me, well, I've played with them, and, like, if you throw me and Ben and, like, a couple of guys that we know that are going to play that high stakes and are going to play really well, I hope. And, like, it's going to be interesting poker on top of the fact that, like, we know each other and we'll be relaxed and hanging out. I think that people underestimate, like, the type of environment it could be.
As a viewer, it is fun to watch camaraderie and
Yeah.
see them joke with each other and all that kind of
The
stuff.
table banter.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Stories
He's
and-
right. When players don't know each other, it's more awkward, and it's funny to see them making prop bets and teasing each other. And
Yeah.
It was definitely a challenge that they had when internet poker players started to come up and like were part of the mix, because they wanted them to be represented because they were, making big waves in the poker community and they were playing big and they were good. But at the same time, throwing them in one of them at a time with all these guys they didn't know didn't work.
I think anyone who watched that show would want it to come back. I
Yeah.
don't see any reason for someone like who watched it in the past to be like, no, I don't need to see that again.
Yeah.
Like,
If you were a fan before, you're
yeah,
still a fan.
I think anyone who watched it before would definitely want it to
Yeah.
come back. So I think if you wanted to come back, you should hop on YouTube and take
Ben,
that,
would you have
take
fun on that?
quiz.
Would it be up your alley, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not, 'cause poker's not about the banter or making a show. It's about the strategy, and I play because I love the strategy. I love to challenge myself and try to make money. So I actually don't think that suits me so well.
Wouldn't be your thing.
No.
Unless you were actually with a bunch of people like Phil that you were comfortable with, maybe a different story, but
It could be fun. Yeah, I just don't even know, why do I even need to be filmed though? That would be fun if I wasn't filmed.
right, you could just hold a game in your place. You'd be fine. Somebody bring a chip.
Part of the element of being filmed, though, is that, like, you do get a softer game than you would get.
Who are they going to throw in there with us? Who's going to be
They'll find people that want to play on
The
TV.
Yeah,
businessmen.
businessmen. They did that every
There was
episode.
always like two.
Yeah,
two
like at
casual
the end,
guys.
it was like Phil Ruffin and all these guys who owned huge casinos that wanted to play against.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Do you think that's entertaining? Because we're not the people. Well, you are a little bit. I'm not at all the person that whoever watches TV at night when they're going to bed or whatever. They don't know me. They know all these other guys who had a big win in 06 or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, Jamie Gold.
Yeah, like the guys that won those like $3 million WPTs and then just like
Yeah.
spun those rolls
God.
for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And those also, like, on the Poker Hall of Fame thing, to me, some of those candidates, that's their story. They, like, smashed a huge tournament
Yeah.
like 6 years ago, and they were on TV, and now they're, like, a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I just don't, it doesn't seem...
Tournaments are that. Well, that's the problem with the Hall of Fame, right? It's
Ben,
you know,
if you want to be more famous, we can make you more famous.
I don't...
PR.
It's very
PR
simple.
agent.
I want nothing to do with it. But it's It seems
if you
like
played
a
high
sort
stakes,
of.
all they'd have to do, like that's how Phil got known. He played high stakes. They spit out his stats. They said he's won this amount online. He's only 22 and a half years old. Blah blah blah. Bam, he was famous.
No.
That's
I
all we
don't
can.
think
That's
I'm
all
as
we
big
have
a
to do
deal
for
as you think I am.
I don't think you're a big.
It's funny. You're actually a bigger deal than that. Which is you don't realize it, but it's funny, right? He doesn't realize how big of a deal he is. Yeah,
it's an argument that we have sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you never know sitting in your perspective, right? I mean, it's and you don't have an ego really, so it's not like you're pumping your chest all the time, or generally much of an ego anyway.
He's cocky sometimes.
Did you ever play with Sammy Farha?
Yeah.
Okay,
a few times.
That was my favorite player to watch.
Farha, me too.
He is the best.
Absolutely. I mean, he is fascinating to watch.
He's hilarious.
He is hilarious, and some of the stuff he does.
Raisy Daisy.
I love this game.
Raisy Daisy. That's an Antonius thing.
No,
right?
No, Farha. Well, I don't know. Farha said it all the time on.
Pretty
on
certain about
poker.
this, Ben. It was Farha.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Well, Antonius might have stolen it from.
Probably
those first Antonius videos on Poker News Strategy. I remember watching him when his self commentary would be like, "I open and he goes Raisy Daisy."
What really?
Drama. Said that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I got it from. I never heard Farha say it.
Yeah, he Farha was, and I don't, if it comes back, I hope
wonder
Sammy
if he would
be involved.
I don't know.
Has he? I don't know if has he been around the community.
I think there was a little bit of a rumor or speculation that he thought that being on TV hurt his game, so he quit being on TV. But
he didn't want to be on TV
also,
anymore.
TV quit everyone, so I don't know.
Right.
He every once in a while in Vegas, he's around.
He's kicking
playing
around.
big. Yeah.
He's. I mean, I'll never forget the hand he played with Antonius.
Yeah, we were just watching that before.
I watched it again, and
it's so funny.
It's a fascinating hand. That, Antonius raises with Jack. No, sorry. This will be better. I'll do this better.
I think it's been great.
So far, it's been great.
Yeah.
Farha raises with King Queen of Diamonds in middle position. On the button, Antonius 3-bets with the Jack 9 of Hearts, and Farha calls. The flop is 9 high, 2 diamonds. So Farha flops 2 overs and a flush draw. Patrick flops top pair, middle kicker, and it goes check, bet, raise, shove for $500,000. Antonius shoves for $500,000 with the.
This is all because of the props.
Yeah, he shoves for $500,000 with the Jack 9 on the 9 high board, and Farha literally goes call. It goes I'm all in, call.
He's so cool.
It didn't. There was no editing either. It was like
so cool.
It took him 12.12 of a second to call, and you just like. Wow, that kind of stuff makes such great TV. It's so much fun to watch that because I just my brain just exploded. Like, how do you?
Or when Galfond folds a full house.
The king. Yeah, so that you were saying the first experience was not great for you.
That was my second.
That was going to say is that did you were trying to have more fun or like the 10 deuce hand, the one where you 3-bet a bunch and then said I was trying to impress Doyle. Like, was that sort of a conscious effort on your part to make good TV?
Not so much actually. Like. I guess I'd thought about it, but it was more like I had played with the guys at that point a little bit, and I was more comfortable. But even still, like I don't think that not that I think like if it comes back, I'm going to get on and be like the star of the show, and everybody's going to talk about me. But I still think
be so entertaining to me. I can't wait to see you.
I still think that like I didn't get comfortable enough in that setting, or as comfortable as I could be.
Yeah,
it just takes time and also just experience in the like now. I don't know, when I sit down to play a World Series event, I'm a lot more comfortable than I was even 3 years ago.
Yeah. Next thing, in case you missed it, Ray Bitar, apparently, according to Ellen Cunningham, is dying penniless and well, he's dying and he's penniless, and this trying to create sympathy for a guy who ruined a lot of lives. I mean, let's face it. What he did and the things that happened at Full Tilt. You hear countless stories of guys who were grinding and lost their whole role and became suicidal almost. I mean, their way of making a living was taken away from them, and their current bankroll was taken away from them. Right. So this plea for sympathy kind of came off to me as a little bit disingenuous. I don't know. Did you guys see the story, Alan Cunningham, talking about that?
I did not. see the story.
Yeah, he apparently because it came off the fact that Ray Bitar had all his bank accounts seized, and people were saying, well, yeah, they got these 10 accounts, but I'm sure there's another dozen accounts somewhere else with all kinds of money. Don't feel sorry for this guy. He's not going to jail because the judge who ruled in the criminal case said that he's too sick, he's going to die within a year. He shouldn't go to jail, which everybody kind of went, what does that have to do with anything? But just wanted, I wasn't sure if you guys followed that or not, but or what your feelings are towards that. You guys have a lot of money stuck, and
yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I mean, we got it. You got it, right? I got it.
Yeah, I
eventually.
got it.
But yeah, it was not good.
I have a lot of sympathy for innocent people or like animals. I have tons of sympathy for animals, but for a guy like that, you're not going to find the sympathy from me. I don't.
Yeah, and I was surprised that he actually came out and thought and said stuff like that, because he's not going to find so much sympathy in the poker community. But that was just a little bit of an update on Ray Bitar. This week, PokerStars added 2.5% surcharge on withdrawals of foreign currency. So you can have an account on PokerStars, and if you withdraw or deposit in a different currency than your native account, they're going to charge you 2.5%. There's a lot of things since Amaya has taken over PokerStars. We've seen some different decisions than you would have seen from the Scheinbergs, I think, when they were running the shop. It's much more. It seemed like it was at all expenses. We're going to keep the players happy no matter what. And maybe now that we have this situation with Amaya, that maybe it's not the same way. Did you guys see that story, and what did you think of it?
I have all sorts of problems with that one. The first thing is I have a ton of money online, and I'm in Canada, and my account's in US dollars. So basically, I learned that I have 2.5% less money than I have online. Mm-hmm. So I felt a little bit shafted that they should have maybe
didn't give you a warning.
Yeah, let me know, and I'll cooperate with your rules, but I'll have less money online. Second, I don't really buy that they need to charge us 2.5% to cover their costs for currency transactions. That seems totally bogus to me. I think if that were a big drain on them before, they would have done something in the past. All the changes we're seeing Amaya make, cutting their pros, adding casino games, adding higher rate games, it just points to me like they're cost cutting, and I don't see why they would try to disguise it as something they have to do instead of just telling us what they're actually doing.
Because they're a business, and obviously, like, now they have responsibilities to their shareholders, but yeah, if they should just say what it is.
I guess they would argue that they've got all these new costs with regulated markets that they've got to spend time on, money on. At least that's in the press release that Eric Holreiser and some of the other places, in 2+2 as well, where this is a bit different of an environment than the Scheinbergs maybe ran PokerStars, given that they've got to do all these things with different jurisdictions.
I have one more comment on that as well. I heard an argument that they're not a bank and they don't get the best rate or something. And whether that's true or not, you're not a bank. You're converting my money to facilitate my gambling so that you can rake me. It could make sense for you to help me get the right currency online so that I can use your service and you can generate income off of my play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It seems like they've looked at the currency conversion as a profit center now. It's more of a place where they can make money instead of raising the rake over here or doing something else. They decided that people maybe were abusing it. Maybe they thought people were either speculating with the money in their account with foreign exchange or using it for some other reason, and they wanted to stop that. It seems like they could have stopped that to people that were abusing it.
Yeah.
Instead of going site wide, but whether they take it through taking money on deposits or withdrawals in foreign currency, or if they raise the rake or some other way, it seems like the direction of PokerStars under Amaya has been a bit different than the Scheinbergs. Now, as Phil said, they're a company. They have the right to do whatever they want to do, and the internet is perfect competition. so people can go elsewhere if they're not happy with it.
I've heard. So a long time ago, well before the Amaya, I was talking with a Pokerstars employee who's saying just really great things about the Scheinbergs and how a lot of the decisions that Pokerstars could make that could make them more money, they don't want to do because they're interested in the player. And I think one thing specifically that he said was that what's very important to them was supporting the dream of people becoming like Ben or myself
or
I
yourself.
guess.
Yeah.
But so there were issues like with Rake at the lower stakes games, and it was very important to them that people actually could move up in stakes and could beat the games. But to be fair, and that was awesome. But to be fair, they kind of have been doing things that they didn't owe us. Like they've been a better company than they had to be. Because at the end of the day, they're a business, and we can go elsewhere.
Right.
But they're still the best online poker business,
right? Even
with the changes, and hopefully, they don't push it too far to the point where they do lose customers and anger the players too much. But I don't want them to make changes that hurt players, but I do. I think that the old Pokerstars set kind of too high of a standard, perhaps.
There was a writer, Steve Ruddock, who wrote a piece in the on Pokerstars and their changes. I want to bring him in now, and we can chat with him about it. This is Steve Ruddock, one of the lead writers over at onlinepokerreport.com. Steve, welcome to the Pokercast.
Thanks for having me.
You wrote an interesting article this week. There's a lot of discussion on 2+2 and other places about some of the changes, specifically one, but some of the other changes that you wrote about in the article on, what the overall sort of reasoning you feel for some of the different changes that have happened at PokerStars now that Amaya has taken over. And first of all, I want to get into the big one this week was the fact that PokerStars now charges 2.5% on international currency changes if you withdraw or deposit in a currency that isn't the home currency of your account, so to speak. Give us your take on sort of that one, and specifically, Steve, and how you feel the backlash has gone against it.
Yeah, it's of all of the different procedural changes, I think this is probably the worst that they implemented as far as how they announced it, and just as people just don't like to be charged extra fees on anything. So it's an interesting policy change. I see why they did it, and I think the backlash is expected. 2.5% is quite a bit. There are a few workarounds that I've seen people have been using, which kind of soften that blow a bit. But if you're I believe in Australia, you're kind of out of luck with those workarounds, which are basically just to transfer your money in-game into the currency that you're using to cash out. But overall, I think it's just something that had to be done, and basically you just kind of got to take your punch in the gut if you're Amaya or Pokerstars, and let the forums have at it for a week or so.
Yeah, they had to know this wasn't going to go over well. It's not a small, trivial amount of money we're talking about here. We're talking 2.5% each way. For a casual player, that means when he buys in, if he's a losing player, maybe he doesn't cash out each month. But that buy-in, so less is available to the poker economy for that pro who's cashing out each month. That's a big hit to their bottom line. It just seems like, and you mentioned something interesting, and it was how they announced it, and there was some backlash to that, and it seems like a couple of decisions that have come down from PokerStars policy changes might not have had the, we didn't see an email to the entire database of players at PokerStars. So, there was an announcement on 2+2, but maybe that doesn't go deep enough to explain to their whole database exactly what's going on here. That's what some people felt.
Yeah, I found it interesting that they didn't explain exactly what you should do to avoid the charges. It was more like the players had to figure it out based on the wording that the 2+2 post had. And I think like a major problem with this is, as you said, the recreational players, I don't think they're really going to notice it, so they're not going to realize that they need to use any type of workaround to get around it. So I think a lot of that will just be, like you said, taken out of the poker economy straight off the top, where most of the regulars will, find a way around it and work to choose so that they don't have to pay the fee.
One of the other things that was mentioned in the press release that they made on 2+2 was this was a competitive exchange rate. You would find at banks, and a lot of people talked about the fact that nobody uses banks for currency exchange because their spread is so ridiculous. I mean, if you're changing $10 or something or $20, that's one thing, but if you're doing any kind of money, you're generally going to a currency exchange or some sort of online wallet where you're going to get a better interest rate. So it seems like this has turned into, instead of, before where they probably were giving the players too much, right? I mean, the ability to transfer currency back and forth at the no vig rate seems like it opens up them to a lot of, different issues with regards to currency fluctuations or whatever. But maybe going too far this way, in some people's opinion, and turning it into a profit center. What do you think the reasoning behind that would be?
Yeah, I think they probably looked at their competitors and what they were charging and said, well, we come in just slightly under that and we'll be fine. We'll deal with the backlash off the top, but eventually it will die down because we still have either a competitive or the better exchange rate amongst the poker sites. I mean, it's a very difficult position. Like you said, there's probably people who are, supernova elites and they're already making a ton of rake back. And if they're using this free currency exchange, they're probably costing Pokerstars money at some point. They're actually losing money off of those players, and those are their high-volume players. So there's got to be some give and take between the poker players and the poker site. I think this is just one of those things that's probably going to take, like I said, a week, maybe longer to blow over, but then it'll just settle back down.
So this is part of, as I mentioned off the top, a string of, and this is what the focus of your article at Online Poker Report was, where this is sort of becoming a trend a little bit now that Amaya has taken over PokerStars. Remember now, Amaya is different than PokerStars. The Scheinbergs were very player friendly as far as fees and giving the benefit of the doubt at any point in any turn to they're okay to take a hit financially if the players are happy. Whereas now we have Amaya in charge of this company, where they have giant loan payments and debt financing to make payments on, and now understandably from their end that they've got to make decisions based on servicing that. Based on their profit margin. And so we talked about, or your article talked about, the culling of the pro roster. A lot of the pros have been let go. And that one seemed almost not even about money. That seemed like a policy one to me, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the sites are moving away from the sponsored pros other than like their bigger names. Some are moving into more like sports-related sponsorships. So I think a lot of those were just going to happen anyway. But, I mean, you did have people like Joe Cada or Umberto Brenes, who maybe if the Scheinbergs were still in charge, they'd just say, yeah, he's been with us for, 5 years. Just renew his 100% rate back deal, no problem. Whereas Amaya is looking at it from more of a dollars and cents point of view.
Yeah, and I think it was mentioned that Joe Cada, or he mentioned it on Twitter, that all he really wanted, or he asked for, for his new contract was 100% rake back, which, if that was the case, if it was just sort of let's cut here and there and this guy and that guy from the roster, that one seemed like policy to me, because it's not going to cost them anything if Joe doesn't play, and it's rake back that now you probably won't get. So that's what I'm thinking. It's policy maybe.
Yeah, he's probably like a slightly negative EV player for the site because of 100% rate back and then whatever other promotions and stuff he cashes in on. So he's probably a negative player for them, but still he's a decent name in the market.
Yeah.
So you would think that slight negativity would be offset. But, yeah, I think more of it is just, these sponsored pros aren't worth it. We need to move away from this and divert those marketing dollars somewhere else.
You mentioned in the article cutting ties with non-producing affiliates. These are affiliates who had historically signed up players on MGR deals where they get the life of an account. If they get somebody to sign up, they get a percentage of the revenue versus a CPA where you get a one-time fee for signing that player up. But, if you don't continue as an affiliate to sign players up, there's a clause in there that Stars can then end the deal. And that I don't think ever happened before, but that's the direction that they went this time. If you're not a producing affiliate over time, that, you're going to lose some of those players.
Yeah, I was told that this happens more often than we've heard of. It was just that this time it happened to somebody who decided to get vocal about it, which is their right. It was one of the larger ones, I think, that have been culled. So I think that was why we really haven't heard about this before. But I was told that this isn't, anything groundbreaking as far as cutting ties with affiliates. I think their communication of it wasn't really that great. Again, sort of like the currency exchange. I think they could have done a better job of saying, "Hey, listen," or giving them, "Hey, you have 30 days to get your house back in order, to get our affiliate links back up on your site, to start sending players back to us, and we'll continue the deal." But instead, they just went with what was in the contract.
So when I was thinking about this today, and having you on the show and how we were going to, what we were going to get into, I'm a player in Canada, so it costs me money. This is going to directly hit my bottom line, and then I thought out loud to myself, like if the Scheinbergs were still here and Amaya didn't take over Pokerstars, would that have been better? Like, would we still? We've got all these regulation issues that you wrote about in the article. I mean, it is getting really expensive for Pokerstars to operate in all these different environments. And I wonder, how different it would have been if the Scheinbergs were still behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's funny because the players aren't looking at it from that perspective when that's actually what they're complaining about, is their slight margins are being cut. So they're losing these tiny little edges that they've had all along, whether it's currency exchange or, whatever it is. But they're not looking at that through the prism of Pokerstars, where they're dealing with the same thing. They're having some of their margins cut into, where before they weren't paying local taxes in different jurisdictions, and now they are. And they have to make up for that somehow. So it's kind of like a player. Like, you lose your deposit bonus, you go and search for rake back. You lose your rake back, you go and search for a good VIP rewards program. You kind of have to continually adapt to whatever is thrown at you. And whatever adversity you're facing, you need to adapt to it. And I think the players are looking at it from their perspective, but not understanding that Pokerstars is actually facing the same thing.
Yeah, and I wonder long term, obviously there's, this isn't going to stop now. There's going to be, there was hints about the VIP program changes, not for 2015, but for 2016, how, we're going to look at it and see if it's still, fulfilling the goals that they wanted to fulfill. And, we're going to move more towards some of these, different costs are going to be passed along to the player. And I wonder if it's a situation where, that kind of stuff is necessary for the site to survive, then we've got to look at it and say, well, that we'd rather play on Pokerstars than there not be a Pokerstars. That's what some people are saying. Other people are saying, well, you know what? I'm done with Pokerstars. I'm going to go elsewhere. But I don't know that you're going to get a better deal elsewhere. Maybe you will. I don't really know. I haven't played anywhere else lately.
Yeah, it's the way I look at it is I look at it from, I want the game to thrive first. Then, you have your two other sections of the poker world, which are the players and the providers. And there's a give and take between those two that are always going to happen. And when I was researching the article, I basically asked myself each time, like, if I was a player, would this change affect me so much that I would become a losing player, or would really change my win rate? And there wasn't anything in there that I said, oh boy, if this happened to me, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So I think it's kind of an overreaction to the small things. I think there's a lot of small things that happened consecutively.
Yeah.
Whether that was just bad timing or coincidental or whatever, I have no idea. But it seems like they've almost brought this on themselves with so many slight changes over a short period of time. But in the end, it's really like if you get hit with a 2.5% currency exchange every now and then, if that's what's not allowing you to be a winning player, you might be in the wrong field to begin with. But that's just the way I looked at it when I first started looking into it. Was if I was a player, this would it would irritate me, definitely. But would it be the be all end all where I said, "Oh, forget it. This is ridiculous." If they added a jackpot drop to the game I play, would I say, "Well, forget it. Never playing this game again"? You have to look at it in that sense. Like I think a lot of people during the poker boom got very complacent with how not easy, but how easy it was to beat the game. And I think if you look at poker before the boom and poker now, it's a lot harder to beat the game. And a lot of people are frustrated with that, and they think it should be as it was during the boom, when this is actually how it is to beat poker. It's a very difficult game to beat, and not everybody is going to make a living playing poker.
And maybe that's why they're upset, because that 2.5% on an already thin margin for a lot of players who are having, it's getting tougher and tougher, like you said, and now it's a bigger deal when they do chop that 2.5%. Having said that, online poker has always been, this perfect competition thing. The internet is perfect competition. If you don't like somewhere, you can go somewhere else. And that's really what Pokerstars is gambling, I guess, that people aren't going to go somewhere else. Or if they do, it's not enough for them to not make this change, I guess. And I guess it's just what I think it is for players? I think it's definitely a change of direction from the site that everybody was comfortable to playing on. And now that there's this slave to these big payments that they've got to make each month. I keep coming back to it, but it's a change in direction to the site that they spent years and years playing on.
Exactly, and not only that, it's the CEO of Amaya. He can get fired if he's not doing his job right. He can get voted out by the board, so he has to actually look at the different margins. If something's not producing, if an accountant goes through the books and says, "Hey, why are we losing $500,000 off of this currency exchange? What's going on here?" He has to explain why. Oh, well, the players like it. That's not really going to fly with the board.
Nobody was firing Mark Scheinberg. That wasn't going to happen. Exactly. Steve, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Online Poker Report, if you wanted to. And what's your Twitter, Steve? If people want to follow you on Twitter for breaking poker news?
Just Steve Ruddock.
Steve, Ruddock, at Steve Ruddock on Twitter. Thanks so much, Steve.
All right, thanks for having me.
So that was Steve Ruddock, Online Poker Report, of course, talking about some of the changes that have gone on over at Pokerstars and the different direction, maybe different approach to providing online poker that's happening. One more thing, should we get into before we take a break? I wanted to ask you guys and Farah. There's lots of innovations in online poker. Lots of changes. There's this need. We talked about Spin and Gos before. Anonymous tables are also sort of a hot button topic. It's an idea to take HUDs out. Obviously, that's the main reason why a site would do that, to take the skill edge away and protect some of the casual players. Do you guys think that that's something that we need to do? Is that a task we should be taking on as a poker community to protect those players?
You mean like on Bodog where everyone's a number?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. So that's anonymous. You can't run a HUD. So if you have a HUD, head-up display to track stats, so you've got Poker Tracker now.
I don't like HUDs. They block the cards. I can't see what's going on. I enjoyed playing on Bodog for that reason.
That they were anonymous?
The site crashes every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so,
but theoretically, in theory, if it was Pokerstars,
coming from an
instance,
amateur, someone who plays for fun, I actually do like the anonymous factor.
Because you don't care who that person is, right?
And I have to think that it would be advantageous for you guys.
You're saying protect the amateur player. I actually feel like that would be really good for the top players.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because how can nobody knows who they have to play.
But you don't have stats against. You don't have.
That's okay. Like if they'll play us, that's okay. The problem is like we don't get action.
Play, you know.
Sure.
And I think that having a HUD playing against somebody who doesn't have a HUD is an advantage, but if it creates more action, it's well worth the trade-off. Like I don't use a HUD to gain advantage on the people that don't have a HUD. I use it to compete
against other people that have a HUD. So you take HUDs out of the equation, and you feel like it's good for you. I
think that if it creates action, it's good for you. But I think that it's also possible that just people stop playing because everybody's terrified they're going to be playing against Ben every time.
Nobody wants to play against Ben.
I'm not sure. So that's interesting. I don't know. I wonder if people would be happy because there's this thought of casual players saying, "Oh, he's already knows. I played with him for 100 hands. He's got all these stats on me, and now I feel like I have to do something different because he's expecting me to do this, and now it's not comfortable. That kind of thing."
But do they think? I don't even know if they think about that. Like if you're a casual player, very casual player, I don't know if you know about HUDs.
I wouldn't think about that.
No,
I don't know if you know they have a HUD.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people obviously do, but yeah, I don't honestly know. I think that if it creates more action, then it's awesome for us as well. But I do think that the goal of making things more attractive to the casual players, it's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think us as professionals have to take that into account when sometimes, like we were talking about with Spin and Gos, like sometimes it does cost us something. The format change could cost the professionals something, but hopefully the trade-off is worth it if it brings in enough.
So the argument against on anonymous tables is that a lot of scandals were found out by Poker Tracker. I mean, we had sites ripping off the customers. Neo, the famous graph, of course, it came from being able to see hand histories and have a HUD. So you wonder, is the trade-off worth it's worth having this kind of thing?
It's probably not.
That's a great point. I don't trust that at all.
Still don't trust the sites.
No.
Yeah.
God. Okay. I trust stars. Well, I trusted old stars. They're scaring me now.
Well, the thing is, even if you trust the site, like so many scandals were broken by players just because the site has a lot of things to do. They don't have
Right.
I assume they don't have 10 people dedicated to catching scandals all the time. Maybe they do, but I do think it's a problem, like especially with collusion. I mean, although are the tables numbered? So could we even tell? We could figure it out. We're on the same table if we're on like 5 of us are on the phone together or something. So there are a lot of problems with it, and I do think it's probably not worth it, especially at higher stakes.
Yeah, I don't think it could happen at 6 max. I thought you meant heads up when we started this discussion.
Oh.
At 6 max, it would be a huge mess because whole card sharing in PLO would be a disaster.
Yeah.
I think so.
Also, the first thing that scared me when you brought this up is just third-party software. If it's heads up and I'm not allowed to have a HUD, I think there's a way that you could
get around it.
Surely there's
scrape the screen and
but you could get a HUD, but you only have it for that session. Like you wouldn't have.
Even as soon as the guy quits,
they could even make it anonymous heads up and allow a HUD,
or do it Zoom.
But then you only have that session's hands. Like you don't have a history of like you don't have a big sample of data on anybody.
Yeah, I suppose it could be done in a way where you can't. It's impossible to know that you're playing the same guy that you played yesterday or whatever, but I'm definitely scared that wouldn't be the case, and some people could have that edge that others didn't.
How much of a problem is multi-accounting these days? I haven't read much about it. I know you guys are probably right in the middle of trying to figure out if you're getting multi-accounted a lot of the times. Does that bother you, and how much of a problem is it these days?
Nowadays, I don't want to speak for you, Ben, but like for me, PLO, like if there's nobody that I think would multi-account that I am not happy to play.
Right.
So,
but that doesn't mean it's not a problem.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's still happening, and there's some people that we're suspicious of, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's not a good thing, but it seems like a lot of the best players, and maybe it's because they're successful, have the integrity not to do it. And it's not, and so like I'm not getting multi-accounted by anybody that like I said, that I wouldn't play, that I'm not happy to play.
Right.
And so if they're giving action, and it's actually kind of interesting, and I in no way condone it or support it, but it's actually interesting because sometimes, like, let's say there is a pretty good player who's on a new account, and then is in a Zoom pool, and people assume he's bad, and then it creates more Zoom action for everybody. Like that actually works for me too.
Ancillary benefit.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Phil's pro multi-accounting.
I'm not. But it's. I mean, if Ben multi-accounted me, I'd be very upset.
Yeah.
Because but like, no, people shouldn't do it. But it seems like the people that are doing it now, if they are like, normally when there's a new account that pops up, and people later think they're multi-account, like that's fine. I'm happy to have them in the games. Not that I'd still prefer they play it on their original screen name, but it hasn't been something I've been scared of lately.
Yeah. You guys have made the trek up here to Vancouver and left the United States because you can't play in the U.S. on Stars and Tilt and others, and you've moved up here.
How do you like the rain?
Yeah, well, the rain is well, it's just calm now, but there's a lot of sun to offset it from the summer. But I wanted to ask you guys, because there seems to be all these whispers about people VPNing from the U.S. and you guys have gone to the effort of moving here and working within the rules.
Yeah.
But we have this situation where people are using VPNs or some other method to play against you guys from the U.S. How much does that bother you?
It bothers me significantly. They can be comfortable. They can be in their home. They can be near their family, their friends. I don't think it's fair.
Do you think it goes on?
I think it does.
Well, it has to. I don't know how much.
It seems to me like guys that you would be playing against are taking a much bigger risk than somebody playing.
Well, that's the thing.
It might not happen at nosebleeds actually because it's so risky.
It's so risky because they can, like somebody from, I forget if it was Full Tilt or Stars, talked to me initially about it, and they're like, they like the government, the U.S. government tells us to seize the funds and send them to them, and I don't know what they're going to do.
You're never getting them back then.
Who knows what they're going to do with it? But yeah, it's a huge risk for anybody that has a lot of money in their account.
Yeah.
How can Pokerstars not catch this by now? Do they not?
Well, I guess you would ask. First of all, they're not going to release a lot of the information because they don't want to teach people. But you would ask, why would they care? Right? I mean, this is a point where they're going to not Pokerstars in general, but whoever is going to generate more rakes. So you've got to trust that they care enough to take reasonable measure to stop people doing it. With Pokerstars, I think we can trust that that's probably happened. But it's one of these things where people are always smarter than the company, right? I mean, if they really want to,
technology is,
they're going to stay ahead. Yeah, such that, especially when there's money in the line.
And I don't know. I will say, I realized, like, just thinking back now, it sounded like I was in some way in support of multi-accounting. You were. Which I'm not whatsoever.
I think you were. We're gonna pull this clip out.
I'm not whatsoever. But the
and you don't mind when people VPN either.
Well, actually, I was going to say is I think I would much more mind if somebody multi-accounts than somebody VPNs on their own account. Like, that doesn't put me at a disadvantage. I feel like I do agree with Ben that, like, it sucks that we're doing it the right way, and they're kind of getting out of it. But I don't think it puts us at a disadvantage. I don't think we're being cheated at all.
Yeah.
It's just unfair.
Yeah.
You get delicious sushi.
Yeah, that's
in Vancouver.
It's a good thing.
I don't mind the rain at all, except I had an experience today where I ride a bike when I go to Kitsilano twice a week for some appointment I do over there. And I didn't realize when it's raining heavily, your bike kind of skids and slides a lot. Yep. So that was exciting. And on the way across the Burrard Bridge, I was pedaling my way across the bridge in this car. I think he did it on purpose. He just got real close to the barricade there and just gave me a shower. Just shot a wave over the top of me.
Oh, man. And it's not, you can't get upset. I
was laughing. Yeah. I actually don't mind the rain in the water. I don't mind the weather at all. But I don't think I'm gonna I don't think you're supposed to ride because there was no one else riding bikes.
But they have the bike lane.
Or if they did, they had these parkas and stuff and like this whole
hazmat suits.
And I was in like cotton.
So I've known you both for a couple of years now, and I've never asked you. Did you guys know each other personally before you both lived in Vancouver? Or
no, not personally.
When and how
we
did
met
you
in
meet?
Vegas. We met in Vegas the summer before we came here.
Oh, I was already here, I think. Oh, no.
You had been here before, and I hadn't.
Yeah, let's move up to Vancouver. Why not? Last thing, before we go to break, I want to bring up a story that's really cool, and I'm sure you guys haven't heard of it. I stumbled across it. There's a kicker on the Indianapolis Colts. His name is Pat McAfee, and he was a soccer star when he grew up. And it turns out that he went out for these punt pass kick competitions that you guys would know a lot about being from the States. We don't have them up here that I know of. Maybe we do. But they're a big deal down in the States. These punt pass kick, it's a lot of recruiting for high schools and college football and all that kind of stuff. So this guy is a soccer star. He goes out to one of these competitions. He does well. There's another. Now he gets invited to some combine down in Miami, and he doesn't have enough money to get there, and his parents aren't giving him the money. They say, no, you've already said you're going to go here. You can't go to that and prove how good you are because you've already made a declaration that you're going to this school. So he has no money, and he has like $100, so he goes and plays in an underground poker game, and he takes the 100, and it's like a 1-2 game, and he wins $1,400. And the only reason he went there was to make the money to fly down to this combine. And he lies to his parents, and he wins the money, and he says he's going somewhere else, I guess, and he flies down there. And he impresses everybody at this combine so much that he gets offered this much better school scholarship, which turns out, and then he does quite well. He sets records at the university that he goes to, and then ends up being the kicker for the Indianapolis Colts, which I was just kind of one of those things where one sort of night of poker completely changes your life. Like, who knows what happens if the sliding door, right? It's kind of this neat story.
So
you guys,
if you have unsupportive parents,
right,
turn to poker. Is what you're saying.
It's sort of the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure, what happened to you guys.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so that's a neat story. You can Google Pat McAfee poker. I'm sure you'll come up with the story. But we're going to go to break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk with Ben. Phil is going to interview Ben for an hour, I think.
I'm going to directly interview him. Okay.
You're listening to 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
Hi, it's Team PokerStars Pro David Williams. Enjoy non-stop one-on-one action with Zoom heads-up tables. It's a new villain every single hand. Hope you're enjoying the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Attention everyone not named Alan Kessler. Have someone you would love to appear on the Pokercast? Have someone you don't want to hear again on the Pokercast? Head on over to the Suggest a Guest thread in the Pokercast forum at 2plus2.com, and Adam will do his best to make you happy. P.S. Chainsaw, you can post too. Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
Hey, it's Mike from the 2plus2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com. 2plus2 is pleased to announce the release of their most anticipated book in ages, Applications of No Limit Hold'em, a guide to understanding theoretical sound poker by Matthew Jonda. This book will give you the ability to create the bet sizings and ranges which will beat the better players. The theory in this book is not designed to be complex or abstract, but rather it's intended to be applied immediately, producing better overall results. Many confusing concepts, such as overbetting, balancing multiple bet sizing ranges, donk betting, and check raising as a preflop raiser, are crucial to a player's strategy, despite few players implementing them or talking about them. And after reading this book, you should be able to not only conceptually understand these ideas, but also know how to begin incorporating them into your game, and thereby successfully compete against tough opponents. And at the 2plus2 store, we accept all credit cards, plus PayPal and NetTeller.
back to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. We are here talking with a cast of characters for another hour or so. But this is the segment of the show where we do an interview, a feature interview. We've got Ben Tollerene here. Phil is co-hosting, and as well as Farah. So I thought we'd throw some stuff at Ben, if that sounds okay. The first thing I wanted to do, I was scrolling through your Twitter to see what you were tweeting about and stuff, and one of them was as a trip to the horse track. I'm guessing it's out here at Hastings Park.
Hastings, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously negative EV gambling, is a bit of fun once
Debatable.
in a while. Debatable.
Depends how good you are.
Ben's got an edge in horse racing too. God, you went out to. I think you probably don't know a lot about or haven't done it a lot. You bricked 6 races in a row. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? You were like betting horses that didn't exist or something?
Yeah, it's be hard to actually explain. I was a little drunk at this point, and the people that I were with were not poker people, and so I at one point I was going to bet $20, and they were super uncomfortable about
That's
it.
That's way too much money because they're betting.
So I have a question for both Phil and Farah.
This could be a multi-way interview.
Yeah, why not?
So what do you think is right in that situation where I wanted to bet, I want to have some fun and get a little bit of a sweat.
Sure.
And even though it's minus EV, I've never been before. I wanted to enjoy it.
Bet however much you damn well please. Don't
Okay.
worry about
So did they
people's
say something?
comfortability.
They were like voicing their
I could
concern?
tell I was making them uncomfortable.
And do you feel like I would feel in that situation like if I wanted to bet $200, they would think I'm like showing off.
Yeah.
And so that would make me uncomfortable.
Why do you have to bet in front of them? Can't you just go to the window?
Because
then they think you have
they weren't
they
really
catch
betting,
you,
and they're like,
they catch you and they think you have a gambling problem.
Well, it's like the typical poker player, non-poker player relationship where they're like, "Oh, big gambler, you're gonna can I come with you while you bet or whatever?"
Yeah.
Like, it's not really like that, but yeah, you can come with me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't take the time to explain what's actually going on. So Farah says, "Who cares what they think? Bet what you want." And Phil,
I mean, I would not stop from betting $20. No, I probably would. I don't know. I would have bet more if I wanted to. You know? Yeah.
When Phil and I bet on the Kentucky Derby this year, we were with friends who were probably max betting $50, and you came in with $1,200. So I don't.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
It's a Kentucky Derby as well, right?
And we binked a good one that day, didn't we, honey?
You hit the Kentucky Derby?
He thinks that he picked it, but I know that I did.
I know that I picked it.
No, you didn't.
We made several bets.
But the one we binked was I forget the name of the horse at this point, but it was to come
Commanding Curve
to
Look
place.
At the recall.
To place. Like
Okay.
literally to come in second
in
place.
the Derby or one of the races before?
No,
Derby.
the Derby. We picked a horse to come in second place, and I'll be damned, that
happened.
horse came in second place. And that was a really good win. That was on my birthday, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that,
I'm from Kentucky, and I get to celebrate.
Oh, yeah. You must spend a lot of...
Actually, Phil and I are going to the Derby this year. I already RSVP'd us last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I told you that like 6 months ago.
Probably you did.
Yeah.
So the story is...
So the end of it is I've bricked 6 bets in a row. I've hit nothing. I'm a little drunk. I sneak off by myself this time. I double my bet to $40. And I'm sitting there by myself at the counter, and I haven't looked at anything. Like when I was...
You're just picking numbers of the year?
When I was more sober, I would go look at the horses because it was fun.
Yeah, of course.
And I wanted to look at them and say, like, that horse looks strong today.
Yeah,
whatever.
I had actually responded to your tweet and told you to just skim your finger up and down. And
you did.
Yeah. And
say stop?
Is that what you did?
So I walked up and I just randomly picked.
Yeah, that's
and
how you do it.
The first 3 because I was picking 3 for a trifecta, and the first 3 orders I tried to place there was just a ghost horse that wasn't in the range. So the guy kept looking at me. He's like, "You can't do that. Like, there's no horse 3 or whatever." And then so I ended up with 3 horses that were actually running, and then I won. And then I got totally unstuck, and I didn't tell anyone. I enjoyed it by myself.
I'm not a total expert, but is the trifecta they could come in any 3 places?
So the trifecta is exactly 3, and then you can box trifecta is any
order.
way but the right 3 horses in the top 3.
So which one did you do?
I did the box. It's much easier.
3 out of 3 though.
And you got all 3.
I had the right 3 horses placing
How much
not
did
in the
you
right
win off
order.
$40?
I won like 180 or something. Like,
sounds like you should win more.
And the tweet you said was, it's kind of like my PLO career.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
it mirrors my PLO.
How did I phrase it?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
So, kept making up stuff until my bets were legal, went home a winner.
Yeah. That's the PLO approach.
That's definitely how some PLO sessions go.
One of the other things was I wanted to ask you about, I was poking around high stakes database today. And, I went for searching some sort of, your results, and it said Ben's opted out of this.
Yes.
Can you give me your take on what you're doing there?
On the opting out, mainly for my personal life, when I meet a person and they Google because I think people our age have this tendency to sort of Google the person that they're hanging out with or dating or whatever. And I just knew that if you Googled me, you got...
When you're Vancouver's most eligible bachelor, you can find a lot of gold diggers out there, can't you?
I got invited to do something along those lines,
I know,
actually.
I
But
told
it was
ya.
way too weird for me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. So I just didn't want that to happen. I didn't want someone to Google me. And I knew one of the top links was my HSDB page. And I just don't... I'm trying to get...
Yeah. You don't need to explain that further.
Yeah.
That's
Phil, what's your take on that?
I think it's fine either way.
He's in a relationship.
I knew he was rich when I started dating him.
For me, I don't know. I didn't opt out because kind of I think more than Ben. I mean, I have a company.
Yeah.
And I have kind of more of I have to think about I want people to be following me for
marketing reasons, right?
I've made the decision to, I'm a well-known online poker player. I've been on TV to play poker a few times, and I'm cool with that, and I enjoy it, and that's kind of the decision I've made, and I think part of that is letting people follow your...
Yeah, I think both of your decisions individually are correct.
A more interesting question is, if you were me, why would you leave it up there? What good comes of it?
Right, exactly.
I think if you're interested, like Phil said, in building a business or becoming a sponsored pro, or
when sponsorships were a thing, that's why I had it up as long as I did. And then I was in talks with Stars at one point. And I was saying, "Look, I'm your top winner for 3 years," and they just don't care.
Well, yeah.
So I said, "Well, forget this then. Why am I displaying this private information if I can't get a deal?" And just at worst, it keeps other people from playing me.
I want to ask you guys about a pot you played. You played it together against each other, and this is online hand. Phil raises with Jack 5-5. I think somebody flats on the button, and Ravenswood, yeah, that's right. And Ben calls in the big blind with 7-7-4-3, and it comes Jack 7-7. So Phil flops top full, and Ben flops the joint, as they say. Ben checks, Phil bets, button raises, and you call. You flat the call. So you flat the raise. Pretty much. I don't think there's any other. You're not going to.
In case that's interesting to people.
Yeah,
I've played a lot with Ravens, and we had actually played a long session that day. I was certain Ravens was full of shit.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so your range is wider there than what you if you're saying he's full of shit, then your range is super wide there.
In very simple terms, it goes bet raise. So Ravens has either a very good hand or a bluff, and I'm playing my range. Maybe that's not true. Actually, I shouldn't do sophisticated poker stuff on the air. I feel like I just want to play my range as a bluff catcher because you guys are putting tons of money in.
Yeah.
Well, when you have all the sevens, his value range is jacks.
But clearly with quads, but I don't think I'm even... I don't think I have a 4-betting range. I don't think I need one.
I don't know if you're aware of this, Ben, but that would be a 3-bet. After there's a bet and a raise.
Oh, no. What have I done?
Let's start all over again. But, I mean, if you think Ravenswood is full of shit, and you could have aces in that spot and flat with aces, if you're just continuating, you think he's full of shit, and you flat with aces, Phil's going to think, wow, you're flatting that spot, your range is
I can definitely be wider than... I don't know if I'd actually be wider than trips there, but I could be wider than trips.
Pretty tough for you to be wide. Like in my shoes, then that. I mean, when the action gets back to me,
and you've seen raise called in the small.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that the majority of Ben's range is going to be trips. He can also have Jack 7.
This is getting really dicey, but if I'm sure Ravens is full of shit, then I could overcall stuff because he can't really do anything.
Yeah,
now you freeze him.
Completely
and then like Phil could fold a better hand, and then I'm just sitting there playing bluff catcher against
I would
Ravens
fold aces. I would fold aces in that spot.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just don't know if Phil's c-betting very much there. But you shouldn't let us just open mic talk about poker.
Oh, come on. That's why you guys are here. This is great.
So basically, I came home from the grocery and and Phil said, honey, while you were gone, I flopped jacks full of 7s against Ben, and he had, and I go, he had pocket 7s. And he goes, yeah. I go, okay.
You bounced a bad beat off.
140K pot.
No, it wasn't that much. It was.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
It was large.
Oh, it might have been.
It was a big one.
Oh, we were playing 51. I thought we were playing 25-50.
Because you go, I was up on the day, but then I played a hand against Ben.
Yeah, we were
Ben,
deep.
did you feel bad about taking Phil's money?
No, I don't feel bad about it.
If it was his last money, you would feel bad about it.
Hey, you shouldn't be doing that.
That's your own fault.
So the flop goes, I said you called, and Ben 3-bets on the flop. No, Phil 3-bets on the flop.
Yeah.
And Ravens would.
It's very clear for everyone.
Yeah, I've screwed this up now, haven't I?
So, yeah, you 3-bet.
Yeah, so Phil bets, button raises, Ben calls, Phil
Yes,
3-bets. See, I didn't make the same mistake that Ben did.
Obviously.
Ravens would
Ben's
fold,
learning.
And you call. So now I wanted to ask about your 3-bet there. Well, after it, you got jacks full. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to try and you want to get the money in. You think you want to get the money in here as quick as possible.
Yeah. So I think that I want to get money in on the flop. Because, so Ben has trips plus, I've decided. Maybe he doesn't, but I've decided that he has trips plus.
Yeah, that's plenty fair.
Yeah, and the thing about, like, if I had, let's say I had Jack 7, I guess, I could call, but I probably would want to raise Jack 7 because, like, he'll have a lot of 7 with overcards.
King,
like,
queen,
I want to get
ace.
value from those hands now.
Yeah.
And also, if he has Jack 7, when I have Jack, I want to get value now before a queen or a king or an ace hits.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't want to like put in a lot of money.
Get a bunch of dough.
So I wanted to get more money in on the flop, and I did successfully. And then it ended up being such like no overcards hit.
Turn is a 5. Ben checks. You bet 13K, and he calls.
Mm-hmm.
The river's a 3. He checks.
And we have
you super
almost
shove.
Exactly pot, right?
Yeah, you bet the pot.
I got to raise you like $200 actually.
That's it. Yeah,
I did feel like a dick doing that.
So you bet everything but 200.
Yeah,
and you check raised at the last.
He potted it.
Yeah,
I mean, I got to get my big blind.
Oh my God.
The thing is, like
1BB 100.
Oh, we were playing 100, 200.
Yeah,
that was big.
Oh, okay.
So
that's why it was big.
The river, I'm curious about. After all the action, it comes the river, and you super shove there. Do you love the line?
I don't love the way I played it. And I actually like during the hand didn't love it, but I kept thinking like, okay, I need to make as much as I can from Jack 7. And on the flop and turn, I was like, I need to make as much as I can from Ace Queen 7, Ace King 7, King Queen 7.
Yeah.
Did it ever cross your mind that he
had
quads?
Yes.
Okay.
It was definitely a possibility. The thing I was thinking about, and I'm not sure, like, I think that I'm happy with the flop play. And I'm happy with betting the turn. I think I could have bet smaller on both the turn and the river. And if Ben wants to shove, the thing about that spot...
Are you ever going to fold to a shove on the river?
I think that I can.
Wow.
Because especially if I bet smaller on the turn and the river, the thing about that spot is that it's impossible for Ben to block me from having the nuts.
That's not true. I just have to have a 7.
Well, but if you have a 7, okay. No, if you have 1-7 though, I could have like Jack 7. Yeah. Like, and so it's not a spot like a bluff shove there is not suicidal by any means, especially if I'm going to fold jacks full.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that I'm going to fold jacks full. I think it's a spot that people just don't bluff because you can't block all the sevens without having quads. Even if you have, like, if he has jacks and I have 7 jack, like, he can't even, I mean, he wouldn't bluff with jacks full, but he can't block quads. Like, I think it's a spot people don't bluff because there aren't, like,
it's a bad spot.
because I'm representing such a narrow range, and a chunk of that range is the nuts from where I'm sitting. So I do think that I could have bet less and folded to a shove, and I was thinking about that on the river too as the hand played out, and I was just like, I don't think I want to fold to a shove. but I don't like my play because I don't even know if he's calling with jack 7. I don't know if you're calling with jack 7 when I pot the river. You don't have to answer, and I don't know if you know, but like, it's a really tough spot for me to. I don't even know if I would play jacks. I don't think I would play jack 7 that way is the problem. And I don't know how many bluffs I have in that spot.
I think if I were you, the thing I would have done differently is probably just called the flop.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really wanted to not let an overcard hit if you had jack 7.
Yeah, maybe that. Such a weird spot. I actually don't know about that last comment I made.
And one thing that I was looking back on is something that may make me want to have played it differently is that there's only one jack left in the deck, and there's a pretty good chance Ravenswood had it if he raised the flop.
Yeah.
Like a big chunk of his flop raising range is going to just
takes
be
the jack 7
X,
out of his range.
and then Ben's not going to have a jack if that's the case.
Yeah,
or that chunk of the time.
Interesting hand. Hey, you look at it and you go, "Wow, cooler." They're going to get the money in, but maybe there's other ways to look at it.
I probably would have called it off if I bet smaller, even though I probably shouldn't. So it's fine.
You know how much you could bet though?
The most you can bet or raise is the size of a pot.
Yes,
I love that.
Patrick's great. I want to ask you guys, I play PLO myself, and Ben, I'll throw this at you. One of the things I struggle with, I play 6-max Zoom, generally 1-2 on stars. And one of the things is this sort of tipping point on how you play aces differently out of position. When you're, let's say you're in the blind, it goes, you've got 100 big blinds. The guy covers you, he raises, and everybody folds to you in the blind. You've got aces. I mean, let's say they're bad aces, like ace 7-8 or ace 10 deuce or something like right. Not great aces. I know if you're shallow, it's a pretty easy repot, and if you're playing 50 big blinds deep or something, you can repot. And this guy's, if he calls, he's maybe we're not deep enough for it to matter too much. But now when it starts getting to 100, 150 big blinds, how you go approaching that. Of course, you can't do the same thing every time. I'm not going to, just flat with aces every time. I'm going to 3-bet sometimes. But the percentage and how you go about deciding how you're going to play it and what the tipping point is to big blinds and how you play aces out of position.
Mm. Okay. Well, the deeper you get, the smoother you need your aces to be, because they can put more money into the pot and put more pressure on your one pair of aces equity. Like, that's the problem with bad aces. You have a lot of equity, but it's hard to get to showdown with it. If money starts going in, the texture gets dirty.
Which is every texture almost, right? If you have
bad
aces.
And I mean, it's hard to categorize a hand as like good or bad, but bad aces, like weak aces, aren't that good of a hand when you get deep. Like, yes, you're an equity favorite pre-flop, and you can set people with aces, but beyond, like, they do have really poor playability when you get very deep.
Right. Yeah.
And like you don't want to be bloating a pot.
It's how the equity is distributed. So if aces have a raw 60%, but it's all distributed greatly towards having one pair of aces, that's really hard to play in a 200 big blind pot. So yeah, it's less appealing to 3-bet it. At the same time, I think people underestimate how important it is to push your equity. Like, getting to push 60% equity in PLO for 9 big blinds is great. And I don't have as much trouble just from experience with getting to showdown with my one pair and playing the flop, turn, whatever, in a way that I feel like I retain a lot of my equity. But yeah, certainly you want to, I mean, if I have a nut suit, I don't think I'm just overpair nut flush draw is such a huge hand. But the rainbow ones, I'm definitely flatting. I would say I'm probably 3-betting around 60-70% of my aces combos.
Out of position?
Yeah. You also you get the 4-bet, 5-bet, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Maybe in the games I'm playing, not so much. I think they probably play differently.
Some people do, but yeah, I base how weak of aces I 3-bet out of position a lot on how often somebody's 4-betting.
Yeah.
Which nowadays people don't do as much. I think it's slowed down a lot, which is weird because people are 3-betting more out of position than they used to, yet people are not 4-betting. It's not weird, though, because it makes sense to just call and use your position.
I was just going to say, if you get 3-bet and you've got position and you're playing deep, you've got this great spot where the pot is small relative to your stack size now, and the texture of the flop comes out.
So the thing is, sorry, is your question why aren't you 4-betting some of those nicer hands that are non-aces?
No, my question was with the tipping point, like where, when you talk about how many big blinds, I always I look and go, how many big blinds do I have? Is this a great spot to 3-bet here with my aces? Are we shallow or deep enough? And how am I going to go ahead and play this?
Okay.
I think another important thing to consider is how light they're opening. The reason that it's shifted so much towards people 3-betting more aggressively out of the blinds than they used to against late position opens is just because people are opening so wide, and they can effectively open really wide if you're not 3-betting them. And so what happens is you're just looking at somebody who has like a 75% range. And so, you want to put some money in the pot with the top of your range if you're going to be playing it.
And how aggressive they are post, and how they're going to make you lay down that one pair hand sometimes.
But then the interesting thing, like in position, there are since people are now 3-betting wider, and if you're super deep, you kind of do want to. It is attractive to build a bigger pot, even with your hands that are pushing, like, even if not a huge playability edge, it's just like bloating a pot when you still have a lot to play with is kind of attractive and be a little more balanced. But the thing is, it's kind of just like two attractive scenarios, because it's also those hands that are good candidates to 4-bet are also like, it's really attractive to call with them and have a really deep SPR in position. So I think, it seems people aren't 4-betting a lot in position currently.
When you mentioned you wanted to bring Ben in and have the interview, you sent some stuff. I know you're clear across the other side of the studio, so you can't read it, but I have it. So let's bring up some of the stuff with Ben. The notes were that you had were you wanted to talk about Zoom and the state of the games that you guys are playing in these days, and what Ben thought about the switch to Zoom.
Yeah, well, the switch to Zoom and just like thoughts on the state of the games continually changes. And I feel like recently Zoom's been good for a little bit. I guess I'll stop answering my own question. But how do you feel the games have been, the PLO games?
Yeah, Zoom's been great. I think Zoom's very soft. I think there's plenty of room for PLO to grow and develop as a game. Actually,
because of the move to Zoom.
No, 2550 PLO was just soft for a long time.
Okay.
I mean, it's soft in relative terms. I think it's soft, right? So it's the top regs are making a lot of money in Zoom is what I'm trying to say. There's plenty of rec players. There's plenty of regs that I think are losing. Yeah. Something that Phil said earlier, though, that relates to this is I have a really hard time grinding Zoom sometimes because I played so much nosebleeds in the last 2 years that sometimes it almost feels like it's
hard to take serious.
A little bit of that, but I know the hourly's good, so I try to keep my head on straight. But it's so it can just be so boring, and it's also not fun to be playing your smallest game against a lot of people that are playing their highest game because they're so intense, and in my case, I'm just not a lot of the time, and I feel like that hurts me a lot.
Oh yeah, it takes away some of your edge because
they're like shot taking and stuff, right? And they're just so zeroed in.
Yeah.
And I find myself checking Skype and playing music and stuff like that. But specifically, I played like 60K hands of 501K against Victor last year. And then like Phil was saying, when that would die down, or in the last year and a half more accurately, it would be so hard to go play Zoom, which isn't rational, but you can't be rational all the time. Not everything I do can be rational.
You can go to the track and bet $20.
It's so sick.
You can get a rush on $20.
When everyone else is nervous, you actually get a little excited about it.
What can be done to improve the state of the games? I imagine you were talking about
improve the state of Zoom.
The PLO games, I guess.
Improve the state of the PLO.
People have
games.
been talking about bringing back regular tables alongside Zoom. And a lot of people seem to be in support of it. And I'm curious what you think about that.
My default is no way. I love the fairness of Zoom.
I agree, yeah.
I don't
talking
want
about the seating script.
Yeah, we start dealing with table camping, and if I'm the one pisses me off to no end. I'm the one sitting the empty, right? Because I'm willing to play and start a game. Hillary comes and sits my direct left, and the game fills, and I have a seat that I don't want to have, and it bothers me so much because I'm the guy sitting there. I get the worst seat.
Right.
It's not fair. Yeah. So Zoom totally alleviates that, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom does take away like some of the elements that are involved in like building dynamics and certain seat, like having certain seats on people in certain stacks. But yeah, it's so much more fair.
Yeah,
it's just fair to everybody, and it's so nice to be able to just start a session. And like so many times you'd have to just like get on 8 wait lists, and you'd start one tabling while you wait for the other tables,
or to quit a session.
Yeah,
or I can like go get food, and I just leave the pool for 10 minutes, and it's fine.
Yep, you could never leave before.
You're just running around your house like trying to do stuff while you're without
listening for the beep.
Well, you just know that timer got shorter and shorter too over the years, where you used to have like 15 minutes. Now I think you have like 3 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a lifestyle change more than anything, right?
Yeah,
you guys can. I remember Terrence. Terrence Chan was talking about the fact when he was playing the highest limit, head up limit, he couldn't leave his house. Yeah. I mean, he would literally fall asleep at the computer and wait for the beep for somebody to sit down with him.
I had years of that.
Yeah,
not at limit.
But, no, I don't think you can live like that. I think you just have to deal with it because I did that for a long time and I was not happy.
Yeah,
I think you have to just understand. I make this much money an hour, and that's wonderful. But if I do this all day long, then the rest of my life suffers.
Well,
and
but I did it for several years, and I wasn't happy. But I made a lot of money.
So now, are you happy?
Well, yeah. Like you could. It is like a sacrifice in quality of life.
Are you happy because you have a lot of money?
No, but
is it true what they say, guys? More money, more problems? Or is it more money, less problems?
We need a beat down for that.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
It's a mixture.
It is a mixture.
More money, more problems.
Different problems.
But if you had to choose, what would be your saying?
Between what are my two choices?
More money, more problems, or more money, less problems?
I think it'd be fewer problems, honey.
Whatever.
Mo.
I'll go with more problems. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
I'll sign on for that.
I think that's true.
Wow.
They're not as serious. They're like joke problems, but
right.
But if we're just tallying problems, there's more.
That's funny. Farah, now we're talking about Phil, and he's had successful years. What's it like living with a guy that maybe it was sitting by the computer, waiting for that? I mean, it's got to affect you as well.
I think, thankfully, something that really helps us is that I understand the world of poker, and I followed poker before we met and kind of knew what his world was like. Not to the extent like him sleeping by the computer and waiting for the beeps.
I don't do that anymore.
No, he doesn't.
But because the state of the games are different. That's part of the reason.
But I know if there's a good game, like there's nothing more than that I want him to do than play.
Yeah.
I would never want to keep him from playing in a good game.
We've got a plan to go out tonight.
No, we're staying in then. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For a good game or a great game, or what's your...
Is there a line?
Actually, at this point, to be completely honest, any game, because I so often see him like on a nightly basis sit at all these tables alone, and no one will play him. And he is constantly asking people to play, and then people sit out, and then he takes their table, and it's just this ongoing process. So anytime he can get any action at all, I want him to play.
She enjoys, and it is helpful because I have like a lot of guilt. Because the thing is, when you're a poker player, I can make my own hours, and technically, I could always drop whatever I'm doing to spend time with her.
Of course,
it's my choice.
Yeah,
and so it is always hard. Like sometimes when there are weeks of great games, after like 2 days, I just feel bad.
Does that affect how you play? Does that affect your game? Do you think?
I like to think it doesn't, but I guess I don't really know. But no, she does a really good job of letting me know that.
If it ever gets to a point where I'm just bored out of my mind, or I'm just sick of being inside the house, then I'll just tell him I need to go do something.
Yeah,
and
being independent, is a big thing there.
I mean, because me moving here, like I don't know anyone. I don't have my own friends, so I am reliant on him in that sense. But I am pretty like what's the word? Where I can find stuff to do. Yeah. Self-reliant. But yeah, I always want him to play, and he's really good about. He might not think he is, but he's good about balancing and making sure that I'm okay. In fact, he asked me if I'm okay too much.
Too often?
Yeah.
Stop it, Phil.
So, yeah. And then, like, we have my stuff. Like, if I have to go back to LA for auditions or whatever, like, there are times where I get busy. It's not just, like, his world and I'm living in it. Yeah. Like, I do have some things going on sometimes.
Of course. Well, it must be hard. I mean, Phil, obviously that's fantastic to have in a partner as a poker player. But I mean, Ben, if you're looking for something, I mean, that's got to be difficult to find somebody who can fit that and make it easy for you to do what you do.
It's hard.
I thought it was I always had this fear that no girl is going to understand this and it's going to be a huge problem. And then I honestly got to the point where I would argue that it's a happier way to live to just put the game away and go spend time with your girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Whether you're giving up money, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and maybe that's a personal thing. Maybe I don't want or require as much money as other people do, but I have a pretty good amount now, and as the number kept getting bigger, I didn't desire things, and I didn't feel like I was benefiting from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually this last year has been a huge part of my year has been figuring out how to balance this out and how to take advantage of this hourly I have and this earning potential, but to also just figure out this life balance and this happiness sort of thing.
It brings up an interesting point because a lot of people will play poker for, I won $100,000 in the last month. I can go and buy a car. I'm going to go and buy a car. And, obviously that's, not the best way to look at it because you can lose $100,000 next month. But your approach, you say you don't need a lot of things, is a lot of what you're doing for, your future, for putting money away, for being able to live the life you see fit, not have to go, grind a job or whatever, or do something you enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you approach the rest of your life with the money that you've made?
I look at money as energy, and I don't have to know what I'm going to, I'm collecting energy basically. I don't have to know what I'm going to do with it right now because I'm young and I'm in a weird spot for a young guy to be in. And just respecting that I have a powerful ability to collect a lot of money and that someday I'll probably have something really great to do with that, even if I don't right now. So make sure I'm in there doing that, but then also make sure that's not the only thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. Phil, what about you? Do you similar approach? You don't seem like a guy who's going to go and buy a Bentley because you can.
I don't have a car. I actually do spend more money than I do spend more money than I used to, and it's not like it wasn't really a conscious choice; it just started happening. And also
probably because of me.
No, it's before you, and it's also because of Black Friday. Like I ended up for a lot of this time I don't anymore, but I had 3 residences. I owned my place in New York, I rented in Vegas, and I rented here in Vancouver.
So 2 would sit empty.
Yeah, all the time.
Right.
And that was I don't know. I do spend a reasonable amount, but not so much that I'm destroying my role.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really love poker still. And I do I'm still, not necessarily, although actually, so for a long time, I know I'm getting on a tangent here, but actually I wanted to ask Ben about this because I know a lot of players, and I've had conversations with you about it, a lot of players this year seem to be getting disenchanted with poker and are less sure it's what they want to do for a long time. And I'll ask you about it, Ben, but I think that a lot of it might have to do with the fact that a lot of my motivating force for a long time was moving up and being rolled to play in the biggest games that were running and to be able to beat everybody that was sitting at those games. And those games don't exist anymore.
So now you have this bankroll for a non-existent game.
Yeah, and I don't have the goal. I have spent money. I do spend money that I have, but I was never making it to spend it. I was making it to beat the game,
right,
and to move up. And that element is kind of gone right now.
So now you kind of it's not directionless, but it's this ambivalent feeling.
Yeah, there's not the goal that there used
money.
to be.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that I still do love to play a lot. And I still care about my results a lot, but it's not quite the same. And I think, there's a little bit less motivation for that reason.
You wanted to ask Ben something along that line?
Whatever question I was just answering, answer the same question.
I could see, though, how poker as a career, after a certain amount of time, could maybe not feel like really, truly fulfilling.
Yeah.
Not just because of the swings and whatever, but like it's a game at the end of the day. And
you're not enriching the world in any way.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I tell this story a lot, and on this topic, I've told this story in the show where when I've spent a lot of time grinding in my life online, I had somebody come into my basement and build a bathroom, and the day he came in to install
you could stop peeing in the bottles,
right? Yes, and the day he came in, I stopped playing poker and I just started talking. I was down there watching him, talking to him. Like, I was so interested in a guy who actually built something at the end of the day, that was getting something done, and I was envying this guy who had a meaning in life, that he was going to, build something. And meanwhile, I was, doing really well and playing my game, but I could pay for this. But this guy was fascinating to me, and it's because of the way you just said.
And obviously, Phil has done something in his life that has meaning, and that's teaching. So I think he's set himself up there in a great way, and he does get a lot out of coaching, and so I'm proud of him in that sense. He's got backup,
I totally agree with the comment you were making just a moment ago, where I got to the point where I hired an assistant. She basically does everything for me. Cooks, cleans my place, books everything, and I could play so much poker, and I was so efficient.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I started to want those things back. I wanted to just go cook my own meal and go do my laundry and stuff.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for doing those things. One thing that set me off is at the beginning of the year, I had a really nasty ulcer develop.
Oh.
And it was bad. I couldn't eat a lot, and my stomach was just a mess.
Anytime we met up with him, he'd have to leave after like 10 minutes. Bless his heart.
You're pain.
And that was sort of the warning sign that you're just running yourself into the ground, and that's what got me thinking about all of it. And then I thought, why am I running myself into the ground? What actually makes me happy? I like to be able to go in the grocery store and buy stuff without looking at prices.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. So that doesn't require that much money.
Right.
I like to have a nice apartment, which costs some money,
sure.
Yeah. But it just came to the point where I realized you're just talking about, do you want this apartment or do you want twice as much space? And I just don't need it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Do you want this car? Or do you want this really fancy car? I just don't need it. Don't want it.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about is people who do spend money as fast as they make it. Poker players specifically, because before online poker, I used to grind at live poker, and I've seen all kinds of characters come and go. And these guys who, and myself at some point along the line I was similar. You spend a lot of money relative to how much you're making at that time because it motivates you to continue to play. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, you guys are overrolled for games you're playing now, and you become ambivalent to playing 25-50 Zoom or whatever the case may be. But if you're out there blasting off your cash, where that 25-50 Zoom game means something now to you, it's almost like a subconscious thing where they go out and spend that money because they need to be motivated by not having much money. I've seen that a lot in poker.
It's interesting.
I can see that.
I can't relate, but I guess I've seen it in action.
You're right. I mean, you certainly.
I mean, poker
it.
definitely messes with your perception of money, and it's not because you're making a lot of money. It's because
the velocity of that money.
Exactly. Like this is your hourly, and if you had a normal job in that hourly, you'd have respect for the money. But this is your hourly, but every hour
within that hour,
like five times that in either direction. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like.
It's only a big blind.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the one that you always hear.
Yeah.
Well, why do you care how much that is? It's one big blind.
Yeah. That's so poisonous.
It is, right?
That's right up there with thinking in terms of your hourly. That's just pure poison.
Well, what do you mean by that, though?
Do I want to pay X to go spend 2 hours at the movie with my
Oh,
girlfriend?
yeah. Right.
Oh, God.
You don't
Just
go down
saying
that path.
made me feel sick.
Yeah. One of the next things Phil had down was a lot of people considering you as the top dog in PLO now, and how that happened, and B, how does it affect your ability to get head up action currently?
That's wonderful. I didn't know that was. I knew some people thought
adorned.
that, but I didn't know.
I think it seems to be the
prevailing wisdom.
Phil has crowned you his successor. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I'm totally not into the list making ego Trump thing. I don't really care about the lists. As far as how it happened was in 2009. I went on a ski trip with my family, and Tom Chambers, who none of you know his name except Phil probably. He wrote this.
Played for the 76ers in. No, sorry.
It's weird you should say that because he has.
Or was it Sonics?
Oh no, it's on 76ers. His avatar on 2+2 is a basketball team. But,
anyway.
He wrote this huge, super dry manual of PLO facts, basically.
Really?
I'm serious. You open it, and it's like there are 272,000 starting hands. I'm maybe a little off.
Really
here.
dry.
So dry. Charts. Just it's this thick. It's
you wrote
ridiculous.
it up on hand?
No, it's typed.
Oh, okay.
Come on. And so I was on a ski trip.
This thick.
It's an impressive piece. There's volume 2 actually, as well. And I had this huge, thick thing. I was on a ski trip with my family, and I would stay in the cabin every night. We'd go ski, and then in the cabin, all I would do is lay in a bed upstairs and just read the super dry manual. And I feel like that's kind of how I got really solid fundamentals at first, and then that allowed me to get into the games and start doing well. And then
were you already playing, like No Limit or anything?
I was just totally I was playing No Limit for like 3 years prior or whatever.
Professionally?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, no, okay,
that's good.
And then I totally fell in love with PLO. I just thought it was the greatest thing. I thought it was so much fun. And it really hit me that, fish can play this game, and they're going to love it.
Yeah. Draws.
I was like, I really should learn this game because that's not going to change because there's so much... You get to win.
It's more fun.
In No Limit, if you're getting beat, it's so brutal.
Demoralizing.
You just know you're getting beat. Like can you imagine a fish playing 25-50 six max against like Team Russia and I don't know Lot and Ice and Red Baron or something? It must be so miserable.
Yeah.
They probably win like 10% of hands. It can't be fun.
Yeah.
So that started, and then just the off the table work. I always worked so hard, and that just. I didn't have much of a life outside of it. I kind of went in my poker cave, but that's how I did it.
That's what you have to do at some point.
And getting action?
Everybody does.
Getting action?
For the heads-up action,
tough.
It's
I guess
pretty dry. It's
like what I was thinking. I feel like that. I feel like you've been very, very good for a long time, but I feel like in the last year, maybe year and a half, the public perception of you has gone up to the point like you were always considered a good reg. But I think now, like over the past year, it seems to me that your public perception is that you're the top dog now. And I was wondering if you noticed like a difference in the action you're getting as time, like in the last 6 months compared to prior to that.
I see what you're saying. I don't think so because so much of my action was just Victor.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know. I wouldn't guess. Like I get a lot of totally random fish, and then I get Victor. And then sometimes I get to battle somebody. Like this year, Ravenswood has battled me a little bit, but it's so sporadic. He plays me like once a month, and I don't know if it's something to do with his bankroll or how he's feeling that day.
Do we know who he is?
He's I know he lives in Malta. He's young guy up there. I don't know anything else about him.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Poker as a long-term career or another plan. What's your outlook? I mean, obviously, as it's going well, it's hard to duplicate the amount of money you can make playing poker. But 10 years from now, 15 years from now, what do you think?
I love poker, just like Phil said. 10, 15 years, I would guess I won't be playing anymore, not as a career. Putting a time on that's tough. I think something like 3 to 5 years is pretty safe. But you never know. Things change
That's
so
the thing,
fast.
You never know.
Like, how much change every year? I look back at how much change, and it's just amazing. So I don't even know how to answer that.
And I think like every poker player. I said that weird. I think every poker player, goes through like phases of really enjoying the game and really not enjoying the game. And I think that's just natural to feel differently about it, even from month to month necessarily.
I am putting time into some new games now, so I think that's going to
that does help a lot.
Will you share
keep my
what
interest.
you're studying?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my open face pineapple game up to par by playing on the app, and
I'll take you.
Yeah, you play on the app?
Phil, will you stake me?
Probably. That was a head nod.
And starting to work on mixed games and try to figure out what the hell is going on in Deuce in those games.
So how do you go
really
about doing that? Well, how does a guy who's playing at the top of the chain in PLO and No Limit Hold'em and such go learn mixed games? A lot of people are like, you were saying, even 25-50 PLO is kind of, you get bored. How, are you going to go down to the bottom and learn Omaha 8 or better at 4?
See, it's so tough because there's with 08 you probably could learn because there are games at 15, 30, 30, 60 or whatever.
Yeah.
Deuce has been historically awful about this, where you just can't play unless you want to play 1K, 2K.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Against Gus or somebody, yeah.
Yeah. So Deuce is really hard for that reason because you can't go hash your hands out. So it's more off the table analytical work and trying to just really get in there and break the game down. I haven't really touched on 08 yet, so I don't know much to say about that.
The problem is that like the games that run, the mixed games that run are 8 game.
Yeah. And
it's really hard to learn 5 games at once or
6
6 games at once, So I've been playing mixed games for a long time, and besides Deuce, which I played a lot of, specifically Deuce, like learning the horse games, I'm still not very good. And it's also like a difference in our approach. Like I do learn a lot by just playing, and that doesn't work as well for limit games because there's so much more mathematical, and you can't just kind of use your intuition and experience quite as much as you can in big bet games. But yeah, it's hard because you play 5 games at a time, or 5 new games for me at a time, and you can't like think hard enough about them, and you can't focus enough.
You pulled it off in Deuce. You invested in Deuce and took a lashing, and then you've made all that back and more that worked out for you.
That's true. It did. But yeah, I did take a beating at first. But it was not because it's one game. I could play one game. I was motivated because it was running at the highest stakes all the time.
Who were you playing when you first started?
Well, it's all 6-max. Like it started right before Black Friday, or like for 6 months before that. Whenever they introduced draw games, they started to run all the time at 1,500 3K Deuce, which is a huge game. It was, I don't know, it was all the mixed game players. And
remember when I said that I always want him to play games no matter what?
1,500 3K Deuce?
Let me clarify something.
I
hate 2K, 4K,
triple draw.
I don't like those swings at all. My mind is warped. Also, going back to the poker, warping your mind about actual real life money. When he has 5-figure losing days, I'm totally cool. I'm like, oh, you lost 90K? Good job, yay! But anytime we go up into the 6 figures, I'm uncomfortable and I just feel bad, and that's usually Deuce days. But he has some. But he obviously has winning days at Deuce too. I don't like Deuce.
The swings.
She really doesn't like.
So I would maybe take him to the movies if.
Movies.
What she really doesn't like about Deuce is that there are, which is true of a lot of limit games, is there are a lot of spots where you're like, well, I'm gonna lose, but I
have to call.
Call and muck. That's like my favorite.
Why? You know you're gonna lose.
It's so manly. You're just like, you're not bluffing me. See what I just did?
Well, but because you have
Every
9.
Look at my cards.
Look at what I called you.
Trips will win.
It's like, I don't care what you're doing. You're not. Whatever you're doing, you're not bluffing me. I know that much.
It's 9-1.
As PLO becomes more studied. Do you think the best players are approaching a very strong overall game, or do you think there's a lot of room for improvement, including yourself?
Tons of room for improvement.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah, PLO is a huge game.
People think...
In what areas? Like, it's interesting when you say tons of room for improvement. But where can you point specifically and say that is a spot where there needs to be improvement? Like, is it just this thing where it's esoteric? You understand that there's more good things to be done, but you can't say where yet.
We could look at the small blind. That's a great one. It's 6 max in the small blind. The top guys are playing anywhere from 18 VPIP to 50, 40, probably not 50, 40. Yeah, there's huge discrepancies. There's even guys in the big blind who play every hand, no matter.
Really?
Maybe they fold trips.
A lot of the top guys do, yeah.
And,
they play every hand in the big blind.
Against a pot open, heads up. If they're going to be heads up to the flop, they play every hand. I disagree with that.
I do as well.
Opening ranges, cold calling ranges, like pre-flop and PLOs.
Completely because you can't really solve it, or we can't yet. And I don't know. I think so many people think that. And I don't think I get this reputation as much because we have a different approach, but they think guys like Ben have just like solved it when it's just so far from the truth. Like it's just it's such a big game and it hasn't been long enough. And not that people have solved No Limit either, but it's a bigger game than No Limit, and there's been less time spent on it. There's so many more combinations of hands. It's just there's too much to really approach like a perfect game.
You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
Okay, people. Most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast@2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Hey, it's Team PokerStars Pro Vanessa Selbst. Sundays are not just for the million at PokerStars. There's a massive menu of big events including the Second Chance, the Warm-Up, the Kickoff, the Storm, and my personal favorite, the Sunday 500. Check the tourney lobby for start times and settle in for the day. Hope you're enjoying the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen Shahadi.
And I'm Jamie Kerstetter.
And we're one half of the Grindettes.
Inviting you to join us in one of the newest and coolest forums on 2+2.
That's what she said. It's a poker forum where we discuss topics surrounding women in poker, but everyone is welcome.
Join us, especially if your name is Patrick Antonius.
That's what she said.
I'm George Lynn III from Team PokerStars Online, and here's my tip for making Supernova Elite. Play until you make Supernova Elite. Back to the rest of the 2+2 Pokercast presented by PokerStars VIP Club.
I reminisce for a spell, or shall I say think back 22 years ago to keep it on track. The birth of a child on the 8th of October. A toast, but my granddaddy came sober. Count all the fingers and the toes, now I suppose you hope the little black boy grows. 18 years younger than my mama, but I really got beatings cause the girl loved drama. In single parenthood, there I stood. By the time she was 21, had another one. This one's a girl, let's name her Pam. Same father as the first, but you don't give a damn. Irresponsible, plain not thinking. Papa said chill, but the brother keep winking. Still he won't down you or tear out your hide. On your side while the baby make a slide. But mama got wise to the game. The youngest of 5 kids, hun, here it is. After 10 years without no spouse, mama's getting married in the house.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. We're having a roundtable discussion here today. Phil, I wanted to get to Run It Once. I had a bunch of stuff to ask you about. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier. But you know, you were at Blue Fire previously you moved on. First of all, what was that experience like at Blue Fire? Like, did that obviously planted the seed for you to be able to do what you're doing now? But there was sort of this question of when you left and how everything went down. I'm
still.
You want to talk about it? That's fine.
No, well, I'm thinking. Anyway, I wouldn't say necessarily that it planted the seed for this because training was actually, even before Blue Fire, I was thinking about getting into poker training for a long time. And actually, the guy that I started Run It Once with, the two of us had actually began starting a training site, like long before like in the early days of training sites, and we just realized like we were both doing well with poker, and we realized it was too much work, and we abandoned it. But we actually made some progress. Like we had a website starting to be built and everything. But I've always loved training, and I unfortunately am not in a position to talk about it. But yeah,
that's no problem. When you started Run It Once. Obviously, there's poker sites. You didn't start the first poker training site. You had to take an approach to it that would work. And what was the vision as sort of for Run It Once when you guys got together and said, okay, we're gonna do this a little bit differently?
I think my approach and kind of everybody involved. Like I've been lucky to have like a really good team that all have their own input and ideas. But what my personal approach was, I just want it to be decidedly the best, and we'll bring the best content regardless of what that costs and what that means we have to charge in return. And we came in with a higher price than everybody else. For the elite, we have essential membership for $10, which is cheaper than everybody else, and actually is, I think, makes much more sense if you're starting at lower stakes.
That's an interesting approach, right? I mean, because instead of having every player sign up for the same price, whereas a guy who's playing 5 cent, 10 cent doesn't need to see Ben Tollerene playing, 500, 1,000 PLO or learn lessons from Sauce or whatever. Yeah. He needs guys who are playing 5 cent, 10 cent and doing quite well.
There's actually been, so that came out of first thinking, okay, so we think that this, first of all, is worth more than, we actually think it's worth more than $100 a month. I
think everybody kind of feels like
$500, $600, but the problem is everybody else is charging $30 for so long.
Right.
That if we came in at $600 a month, we'd be laughed at.
It's the A.E. Jones ebook on poker, right? Remember, what was it? I can't remember how many thousands of dollars.
It was like $5K.
5K. You bought it?
That was one of my first resources. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you like it? It was
awesome.
Was it worth the $5,000?
Oh yeah. Poker coaching material is like,
that's the thing,
heinously
it's
underpriced.
All underpriced. And so I still think we have not been and aren't charging enough, but I think we're kind of handcuffed by what's come
market
before
forces.
Us. But we realized that when we came in, there were going to be all these small stakes, micro stakes guys that were like, I can't afford that. And so he said, okay, we'll make something that you can afford, and that actually makes a lot more sense, for what you're playing. Actually, we've been
the costs are the same for you though, right? As a company, the cost of providing a coaching and producing videos and stuff is going to be the same price for whether it's approached by a coach who's doing that or
Sauce. Sure, but we're charging, we're paying Sauce more than we're paying somebody.
That's
who's,
true. Good point. Yeah,
going to make smaller stakes videos, but actually, there's been kind of not necessarily a complaint, but we haven't done micro stakes. Like most of our essential coaches are 50 cent, $1, $2 guys that are really good. And a lot of people, I know a lot of the micro stakes guys love Deuces Cracked because they have a lot more micro content. And so that's something we need to consider. The problem that we've had is getting, there's just standards for getting a coach, and there will be guys playing micros that are really good coaches, but it's harder to find. So that's something we might explore. But yeah.
Yeah,
that was kind of my approach was I want to make it the best, and we'll do what we have to make it that. And I think a lot of I think my business partner Dan, a lot of what he brought, he was always very concerned and focused on building a brand, and a brand that people trust, and a brand that delivers all that they can. And sure. I think that, and I'm really thankful that he kind of showed me that, because it is something I think that we've done well, is high quality.
Yeah.
For anything.
Well, you're a lot of the
brand,
offer. Right? I mean, at the end of the day,
sure. But
you're
if
the
you
brand.
if you go to our website itself compared to any other, a lot of other poker websites, it's just a nicer built, more expensive website. And I don't know, we just want everything to be quality, customer service, everything like that, obviously. And it's been more expensive, certainly, to do that than
you thought.
Well, a little, actually, more than I thought, but also just, we've spent a lot more than other training sites. But I do think you see the return kind of in the long term. Every summer, for 2 summers, because we've been open for 2 years.
Yeah.
We've done a lounge at the World Series.
Right.
where members can come and get free food and drinks and hang out and stuff like that. And one thing that I have learned, kind of my own approach, which is different than the last company that I was associated with, is that you don't need to see an immediate return on something to make it a good business decision. So we're losing money every summer doing that. It's not like people are hundreds of people are coming and signing up to get our free food, and it's expensive. But it's just, I think it's important to make your customers happy and to show them appreciation. And I think that in the long term, your brand benefits from that.
It's like a club. You want to create like a positive experience for people. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Are you where you thought you'd be with in 2 years in with content and subscribers?
Honestly, I had no idea. Having previous training experience, the one thing that I know is always the hardest thing, and I actually didn't think we'd be able to keep up with this, is consistency. And we have put out 2 videos every single day since launch, which is really hard.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's really hard, and I can't take credit for it. It's the staff that's doing it, and obviously our video makers as well. But it's just poker. It's hard to get videos from poker players on time.
Of course.
And so that's something that I hoped we could do, but I didn't expect us to be able to. Membership numbers, we had no idea going in at a higher price. I had no idea what to expect, but the response has been good. And actually, one thing that has surprised me is that we have more people signed up for Elite than Essential.
Wow.
Which I thought we'd be like 4 times more in Essential, but I think that maybe that's a failure on our part to market the Essential to the people that don't know about it, because they're like a different demographic, and everybody that would sign up for Elite already knows about us. But yeah, that's one thing that did surprise me.
I read something you wrote about training sites and the way you approached coaches for your site, is that you felt there was only a specific type of person that you wanted to have coaching, and that was somebody who didn't. You called it, I think it was have all kinds of tricky plays, where he's going to come on there. Let's say it's a nosebleed player, and he has a couple of things that he does really well, but when you expose that on a training site, guys, it's going to cost them a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, there are a lot of people over the years that have been like pretty big winners, and they started making videos and they lost. And I think that scared a lot of other people away from making videos. But in my experience, I realized that while I'm sure I have some tricks in my game, a lot of my focus is on being balanced and making sure that, in a spot, like probably too much, I focus on like, okay, I want to bluff here, but can I have what I'm representing? Like, honestly, can I have played it this way? And I think that people that take that approach, first of all, are thinking about the game a little bit of a better way, but also I don't want somebody to come coach for us and then regret their decision terribly and realize that they just cost themselves a ton of money. And we actually did have, I think, probably 2 people that were pretty big winners at like mid stakes and made videos. They were pretty good, but I told both of them, I was like, I think that you're going to be exploited because they were exploiting people and they were doing a good job of it. But if they showed people that, it would really hurt the results.
Yeah. Now, people think out there that coaches are making a ton of money when they're doing these videos, and I think there's a lot of perception too that coach, if you get one of the top players, he's going to ask for a piece of the site or some other kind of contribute. Like, are these guys? They can't be making a ton of money by doing this, so it's got to be something they love to do.
It has to be something they love to do. Like the top guys get paid well in real world terms, but in relative terms, no, it has to be something that they enjoy doing, I think, for almost everybody. And one thing that has actually, I think, cost us some pros over the last couple of years, or like pros that start making videos and they leave, is that, a lot of the reason they come in is because the process is really rewarding. And a trend that's been happening in in training site customers is that they demand a lot more, which is fine. They're paying members and they can ask for what they want. But like the kind of the tone of conversation when you make a video and read the comments, it's kind of gone from love the video, that was awesome.
What about this spot?
What about this spot? To like being really critical. And some people say when they really dislike a video, and other people say like at 24 minutes you did this, that was wrong, and that's all. And for me, when they do that to me, I'm the site owner, and
I'm roll off your back.
I'm gonna, and like I want the customers to be happy, and I don't disagree with their right to do that, but what's happened is a lot of the like top guys, those are the ones that it's not worth it for as much. Like a lot of our people's favorite coaches come in because they like coaching and it's rewarding, and then they don't have fun doing it because it's
abuse.
It's not rewarding anymore. And while I'm not going to tell customers that they don't have a right to say what they think about videos, it definitely, I know for a fact that it's cost us some people not renewing their contract or leaving their contract early because they're just not having fun doing it.
Yeah.
So hey guys, be nice to the coaches.
Yeah.
You don't have to be nicer to me, but if
be
you
nice
like
to
some
Sauce.
Yes, be nice to Sauce. I know Ross has a game he's set up here. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to accept any responsibility for what happens here. But Ross, what do you got planned?
Okay, I'm pretty stoked about this. Let's see how good you guys are at flips.
Oh, okay. This is
Malak.
Yeah. Okay, so the first game I have is hockey player versus poker player. Now I've pulled a bunch of names off of the Hendon Mob, and I've got names off of the hockey database.
Are these big winning poker players that
they've done well? Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just somebody that's played a tournament.
No.
They've played. Okay.
No. Some will definitely be more. Well, there's definitely some you may not have heard of. But okay, so I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do two names and ask each one of you, and we'll do 3 times and see who wins at the end.
That's going to be like, you guys got another hour?
It won't be that long.
Okay.
We'll go Ben first. Ben, Ray Coburn or Scott Darling? Which one's a hockey player? Which one's a poker player?
Ray Coburn is a poker player, and Scott Darling's a hockey player.
Ray Coburn just won if I'm remembering this correctly, DraftKings Millie last weekend, I think.
Is that right?
I think he did. Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Ben gets so
Ben's
happy.
One for
Ben
one.
gets so happy every time there's a Patrick.
I'm going to bomb.
Okay.
Quote.
Farah.
Mm-hmm.
Connor McDavid or Matt Kirby?
Poker player.
I'll go Matt Kirby as the poker player.
Correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Oh, I've got to let the Antonius drop go.
Okay.
2 for 2.
Phil.
Oh, no. I haven't known either of these, by the way.
Alex Galchenyuk or Steve Yeh?
Oh, Steve Yeh is a poker player.
That's correct.
I knew that one.
I think maybe I made this too easy.
No,
that last one was pretty easy.
I didn't know either of theirs. But Steve Yeh had like a full tilt deal at one point.
Didn't you play Steve Yeh heads up for... That was Steve Sung, never mind. Yeah,
Steve
Steve Yeh had
I thought he had a red pro deal.
Had a red pro deal, yeah.
I haven't got to use my buzzer yet.
All
right. Hopefully it gets harder here. Ben, Jerion Joseph Sawa or Benoit Pouliot?
Oh, you went for it there. Jesus, okay, this is a flip. The first guy's the hockey player. There's no way that dude's not a hockey player.
The first one?
Benoit Pouliot is a hockey player, yes.
Yeah, Jerion was on one of the top 4 upward swings on the Hendon Mob.
That's a
watch out
profiles.
So watch out.
He's going to do battle.
He's coming to get you.
Yeah, he's coming for your role.
All right. Who can go 2 for 2?
Okay, Farah. Peter DeCorver or Tanner Pearson?
She's from L.A.
So,
or no, she's not from L.A. She's from Kentucky.
Can you say the first name again?
Which one?
Peter DeCorver.
Peter DeCorver.
Or Tanner Pearson.
I'll say Pearson is the hockey player.
Correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Peter he's 3rd on the EPT money list. Okay, Phil.
Wow.
Stephen O'Dwyer or Anthony Duclair?
Stephen O'Dwyer's a poker player,
Mr.
right?
Timcom. Yeah.
That's correct.
You're giving me the easy ones.
They're just in order. Okay,
Good
Ben,
order.
Damon Severson or Finton Gavin?
These are
You're getting hard.
All right, Fenton's the hockey player. Oh, I can't flip.
Fenton is 6th on the Irish money list.
Hopefully he doesn't listen to the show.
His last cash was
the Irish money list?
Yeah, on Ireland.
Oh.
He's probably below Paddy.
How do you miss? Yeah.
I feel bad about that one, actually. Fenton does not sound like a hockey player name. I think I just stopped at Fen and was like, all right.
That was it.
Oh, Finn. Yeah. Fenton's last cash was 3rd in a €50 PLO event.
Come on.
Brutal.
How do you not know him?
For like 115.
It's like,
He really is coming for
It's like
you.
a big blind.
You guys were getting like EPT winners. I get too random sounding.
All right.
Okay, Farah, Barry Hutter or Jake Virtanen?
That's a good one.
I have no idea. I'll just guess again. I've guessed every time, just so you know.
Okay.
Say the first name again.
Barry Hutter.
I'll say Barry is the hockey player.
You didn't even pronounce the hockey player correctly, by the way.
Jake Virtanen. And he's on the Canucks.
Yeah.
So this is for
But
the
he was
win,
just drafted.
right?
This is for the win, yeah.
All right.
You better-
Another easy one, please.
No.
Phil Hellmuth. Or
Oh my god, this one is kind of going to be easy.
Oh no.
Tank Moreland or Greg FPT Mueller.
Come on. How do you get
Where did you get these names
You've been for
from?
dinner with mules 100 times. What are you doing?
Tank or a guy whose nickname is Full Blown Tilt?
No, Tank Moreland. Yes, Tank Moreland is a internet poker
I think
celebrity.
Tank is the poker player.
Yes.
Thank you, honey.
There you go. See, you don't look at what a nice guy
It's
is.
both.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it? We got what's that?
Oh, well, yeah. Greg played hockey, right?
Yeah, he did actually. So that one, is,
yeah.
you can't lose.
Can't really lose.
My
You
bad.
set Phil up to win.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben.
You're a Phil
It's
fan.
all right. That was really fun.
This one,
nicely
you
done.
can redeem yourself here.
Oh, you've got Canadian City or something? What's
yeah.
this?
I don't really have a name for this game, but it's is this a place in Canada or some shit that I made up? Because Canadian towns have pretty weird names.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll do the same way. We'll start with Phil this time. Now I've taken a name of a Canadian town, and then I've made something up that's kind of similar.
Okay.
And you guess which one
one's
is a
correct?
place.
All right.
Okay. Gooseneck or Herring Neck?
Herring Neck would be the real town.
That's correct.
Did you really know that, or did you guess?
No, I read him.
Harry.
Oh, you
got
read
me?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah, you better cover
He's putting his hoodie over his head.
you can see my pulse.
Did you read him physically or just like analytically?
Analytically.
It's funny you mentioned that you can
This
see
is
your
why
pulse.
I'm stuck.
It wasn't
I want-
physical tells. No.
I want to interrupt the game for a sec. You watched the World Series of Poker coverage this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking to Ross. Clearly, sorry. Ross and I both watched. Did you guys watch the World Series of Poker coverage?
I
this
didn't
week?
know.
No.
So Brian Devonshire, who went deep again, busts a guy named Haugen. I can't remember his first name. And there's like, I don't know, 30 people left or something. And this Haugen guy has this white T-shirt on, and it's super low V-cut. He's in shape guy. And he's right after he busts someone like 20th in the main event, he says, oh, by the way, and Devo is a friend of mine. Like I like Devo, but I thought it was strange that he goes, by the way, your carotid artery goes nuts when you have a big hand. And I was thinking, wow, like right after you crush this guy's dream, you tell him
That
how
seems
you
like-
crushed him. It was, I know Devo didn't mean it mean-spirited because he's not like that. But he was trying to be nice, like
Yeah, he
for
meant
next
it-
time
meant
or
it to be
whatever.
nice, yeah.
But it was like, wow, that.
And to be
Haugen-
fair, like he probably isn't going to see him again to say it.
that's true,
Right.
right? I mean, Devo's got to concentrate on
Yeah.
on winning this thing, and
But
this
Why
guy's
is
walking
he
around.
saying it? I don't understand.
To help him for next time.
He's never.
Why? Why
Maybe
are
they
you
became
helping him
friends
for
or
next
something.
To
Who
be
knows?
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite thing in
Ben,
that broadcast.
Ben's been the grumpiest, meanest guy
It's
today.
Grumpy Ben.
He's such a nice guy, but
No, I don't know if I like your attitude.
Okay, so next one, Canadian City or shit you made up.
Okay. Oh, wait. I wanted to say my favorite thing from that broadcast was when Devo sat down at the table with Leaf Force.
Yeah, that was
And he
funny.
goes, hey, Leaf,
Thanks
for... this is the first time in this tournament where I haven't been the dirtiest hippie at the table.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on. We are on to Farah. Farah, which one is a place? Goobies or Goobers?
And do you want to move there?
Goobies or goobers?
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't believe that either of them would be a place, especially goobers. So I'll say goobies is the place.
That's correct.
Good logic.
You guys are too good at this game.
Yeah, Ben, you're...
Goobies is a place in Newfoundland.
Pressure.
All right, Ben, another hard one for you. Luke's arm or Dave's arm?
That's good. Luke or Dave?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I can't believe that's a real place. That's fantastic.
All right, Luke's arm's the place.
That's correct.
Good read. Yeah. Luke, 3 for 3.
Okay.
They're reading you, by the way.
Yeah, I know. This is why I'm stuck at live poker.
You need to randomize somehow.
I won't look this time.
No, it's okay. You can look. Tickle Cove or Titillate Cove?
Titillate Cove?
Yeah.
Or Tickle Cove?
Yeah.
Titillate Cove or Tickle Cove?
Titillate?
What does titillate mean?
To sexually excite somebody.
To titillate somebody?
Yeah.
It's in the thesaurus as something related to tickle.
Nice.
So which did you look up in the thesaurus?
I love the problem solving going on. Jeopardy music?
Yes, that Tickle Cove is the real place.
That's correct.
Wow.
Do you really think there's going to be a place called Titillate Cove? What kind of fucking country do you think we're in?
Well, they're both, you know.
We're in Gooby country.
We're in, a country with the town of Goobies.
Okay. Ben, Phil, and
Farah.
We are over to Farah. Okay, is the town called higher economy or lower economy?
Oh my god. This should be in the United States.
Yeah.
I will say higher economy.
Oh, I thought you were right.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing.
That is. My brain exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's like economy and then lower economy.
Yeah.
Is the
like
city
lower
below it?
East Side or whatever.
Yeah, it's a place in Nova Scotia.
All right. Last one? Last one.
The last one here.
I would have guessed the same.
For Ben.
Yeah.
Meat Cove or Veggie Cove?
That's awesome.
Come on. Meat Cove.
Cove.
It's gotta be.
That's correct.
Yeah, who's kidding who?
Nice.
That's definitely Meat Cove all the way.
I don't even know who won.
I don't either. I'm pretty
Phil
sure.
swept.
I'm pretty sure Phil did. All right.
I don't think Phil got
He was
any
reading
wrong.
your soul. Thanks so much, guys. It was a
one
lot of
thing-
fun.
Thanks for having
Actually, maybe it's not
It's a
even.
lot of fun.
Maybe it's not even good. But I wanted to tell one of the stories about.
Yeah.
Like Ben and I, when we first hung out, it was like early in our knowing each other in Vancouver. We'd obviously been playing together a long time, and we had just played a long session. And I don't remember the hand, but we played a hand against each other. And soon after, we both met at the gym. We just started going to the gym together. And at some point, and like we didn't know each other that well yet. And he was like, "You don't have to tell me, but what did you have for this hand?" And I told him, and I was like, "Okay, so yeah, I had this. I don't remember the actual hand now, but I said, I had made a non-standard play because like 10 minutes ago this happened, but actually like earlier in the session you did this, so I thought that you might be thinking that I wouldn't do this again." And Ben just looked at me and he said, "Oh, all of that's lost on me." And it was like, it really like, I think it illustrates the difference in our games because like, I am all like every individual hand, I'm figuring out what the other person's thinking and what's been happening recently. And Ben is just kind of like
living in the moment.
Ben's kind of just like, he has his game. And
living in the moment. I love it. Let's go with
Let's
that's
go with that?
exactly
Okay.
how I play poker. Mindful poker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different approach. Yeah, for sure. So let's go to the Isle of Man and bring in the Big Red Spade, as I like to call him, Mr. Lee Jones. Lee, welcome to the Pokercast again, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and it's good to talk to Phil.
Hey. It's good to talk to you too, Lee.
Oh, I feel like
Phil, you and I actually, I don't know if you remember it, but you and I met at the World Series
I do
6
recall.
years ago.
Yeah, I do recall.
That's pretty good memory, Lee. You remember everybody you run into 6 years ago at the World Series? That's a pretty long list.
When they're legendary.
Yes, indeed. Lee, we had Steve Ruddock on the show earlier. We were talking a little bit about some of the changes that have come down recently with PokerStars, and the latest one, of course, is this exchange rate surcharge, 2.5% each way on deposits, withdrawals that are not in your native currency. So if somebody, let's say, is in Australia, deposits in and cannot play in Australian dollars, of course, in the client, so they do have to pay that 2.5% each way. Can you give us a little of PokerStars' side of what happened here, the change?
Yeah, sure. For basically however long we've had multiple currencies, and I think it's about 4 years, we have not charged our players any exchange rate fee. And as a matter of fact, the rate that we gave the players is called the Reuters mid-market rate, and it is essentially the zero cost rate, and nobody ever gets that. And people have been getting it for 4 years on PokerStars. Basically, it is the rate that around which all other exchange rates revolve. And so if you go to a bank and you want to exchange money, or you go to a travel agency and you want to exchange money, for that matter, if commercial entities want to exchange money with a bank, or basically anybody's doing currency exchange, nobody gets that rate. It's the rate from which the discussion starts, and then people are always taking a fee. For the last 4 years, PokerStars has not taken a fee. But for instance, let's say, for example, that you deposit in dollars and want to withdraw in pounds. When you move money within your account, if you move $1,000 into pounds in your account, PokerStars has to move the equivalent amount of money in our accounts to maintain player liabilities.
Can I just stop you there, Lee, for a second? Don't you have I understand if you would have zero people and if it's one customer, you got to move it across. But presumably, you have a lot of people depositing in both of those currencies, so they balance themselves out. No, is that not right?
Okay, so they don't necessarily balance themselves out, right? I mean, there's not a global agreement to make sure that the money moves equally in both directions. And in fact, it is possible, because the exchange rate is so good, that people could do arbitrage on the exchange rate within their accounts.
Right.
By moving back and forth. If for some reason you felt that you had dollars and because of exchange rate fluctuations, there was value to you in being in pounds instead, you could move money across there. Because you were getting a zeroth order exchange rate, actually make a profit on it.
You mean you could speculate, I think is what you're trying to say, right?
You could, yes, exactly. You could literally speculate on exchange rates within your PokerStars account.
Right.
And so to the degree that would be, that would have an effect that would tend to not cause equal money movement. And there's no reason to think there would necessarily be equal money movement back and forth, right? I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why the money would tend to flow more heavily in one direction or another.
Yeah, so Steve and I talked about it. I mean, it seems like, PokerStars has looked at this a bit like it's more of a profit center now than, like you said, they were giving it away, being able to change currencies back and forth at no vig. But now, maybe with increased from the press release from Eric Kohlreiser, the increased cost of regulation in all kinds of different markets, and PokerStars has to be able to compete in those markets, and it's expensive, it seems like.
Well, I mean, that certainly is. But I don't think, I think it's not quite fair to frame it as a profit center. We're not trying to make a profit on the exchanges that our players are doing. What we're trying to avoid is not take a loss, which, again, when that money moves, we have to move the money along with it. So if you move $1,000 into pounds on your PokerStars account, we have to move $1,000, unless there's, if there's a corresponding reverse direction transfer, that's fine. But to a first approximation, when somebody moves $1,000 into pounds, we have to move $1,000 into pounds as well to keep all the books straight. And we have to pay a fee to move that money. Okay, it's not like we get the rate fee-free, which the players have been getting. We pay some kind of fee to move the money. And furthermore, it puts us in the position if between the time the player moves the money and we move the money, if there's an exchange rate fluctuation, it's possible we could lose money in that exchange as well. Of course, obviously, if the rate fluctuates in the opposite direction,
you could make money, right? Yeah,
you know, we might make a little money, but that's, you know, we're not in the business of trying to speculate in exchange rates based on the whims of our players,
right?
Which is effectively the circumstances under which we move money, not because we have somebody that's trading in exchange rates, which they could in theory do. I don't think we do, but I mean we could in theory do that. But but that we would be moving money simply because our players said, "Oh, we'd like to move a whole bunch of money from dollars into pounds today." You know, no matter what that means in terms of our exchange rate exposure.
I sent an email today I'm in Canada, so, you know, withdrawals for me, it impacts myself, you know, and others here in Canada. So I sent an email to try and get the exact way for me to cash out in U.S. dollars, and it seems like there's different e-wallets and different ways to go about getting different checks in American dollars. So if somebody, let's say, is in Australia or Canada or somewhere where this is going to affect them, they can set up U.S. dollar e-wallets somewhere to be able to bypass this 2.5% charge, right? Or, you know, whatever fee that or whatever currency that their home account is in.
So I'm not an expert in that particular subject. The short answer is the same one that it is for all things PokerStars, which is if you have a question, you send an email to support, and they will have the right answer at their fingertips, because, you know, if you say that that's what the support people told you, then I'm prepared to bet on that. but I don't want to say yes, I am sure of that for a fact.
Fair enough. This week, Mission Week. This is what is it?
Back.
Mission Week is back. It's $250,000. Is that right?
$225,000, I think.
Right. So you have three.
Yeah, I mean it's almost $250,000. Yeah. Basically, the mission weeks are fun because you can sort of create a little metagame for yourself within PokerStars. You just create the mission. You pick one of the missions that's going on, and you say, "Wait, I want to do that one," and you do whatever it is. Like you play some number, sit and goes, and spin and goes, or whatever the mission requires. And then when you've completed the mission, you get an all-in shootout ticket. And obviously, the all-in shootout ticket, the cool thing about those is you don't have to be there for anything. It's basically fire and forget. So you register for one of these things, and we've talked about this before on the show, but they're fun to watch because they're four-handed and everybody's all in every hand, you know, and it's essentially a roulette wheel, but it's just done with poker hands, and it's way more fun to watch because you're just kind of like blasting through, and you just see how long you last. And if it happens to start off at an hour that you're asleep, it doesn't matter. You're registered, and you just go all in every hand, and you know, like either you get there or you don't.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to jumping into those. Also, Inside PokerStars videos are back. I've seen the ones. One of them was talking to the person in charge of the money, and some of the others. What's upcoming for those videos?
Wait a minute. You haven't seen the one that stars me?
I have not, Lee. Which one is that?
That's pretty lame.
You could just
Phil,
reenact
have you
it.
seen them?
I haven't, but if you could reenact it.
Yeah, just tell us what it is.
Dudes, come on, do your homework, man. No, I do the one about the random number generator.
Ah, okay.
It's true that the random number generator on PokerStars is such that the cards are set before the hand's dealt.
Has this been bothering you? Like,
No,
did you think about that?
It's been my understanding, because on full tilt, my understanding was always that like it takes into account the time that it takes into account a number of things, so the flop will not always be the same. Like if you take different actions, so you can't say, I folded my threes and I would have flopped a set, but on stars you can.
Let's try to separate those.
All right.
There's random number generators and there's shuffles, right? I mean, those two things are completely different.
Right.
I mean, there's a million ways you could generate a random number, given that you have these random numbers that you're generating. There's a million different ways you could turn that into playing cards, okay? The way PokerStars does it is that we have a really cool way of generating random numbers, and the thing that's cool about that is we literally fire photons at a semi-opaque mirror, and then if the photon goes through the mirror, it's a 1. If it bounces off the mirror, it's a 0.
Wow.
And it's a commercial device that does this.
That sounds like a long way to go to flip a coin.
Well, and actually, the reason it's a long way to go is because, and this goes back to John von Neumann, who says, of course, anybody who creates random numbers using software techniques is in a state of sin. And the whole point is to for good, rigorous random number generator, you have to start from the real world, from hardware somewhere.
Right.
And
that is, truly random.
And Phil says, and I just got an amen from Phil Galfond, right?
You did.
As far as my understanding goes,
deal.
that's what you need to do if you want to be actually random.
Yes, and it turns out that we think it would be cool to be actually random rather than pseudo-random, which is what any kind of software generation does.
Right.
And the way that we do it now is with a special device that literally shoots photons off mirrors. Unfortunately, the one that I wanted to use is a lava lamp that some people at Berkeley did.
They did? They used a lava lamp?
Yeah, it turns out that lava lamps, and you can, I mean, I'm not making this up. You can go to Google, Google random number lava lamp, and you will get it turns out that the pattern of lava inside a lava lamp is reliably random. But it doesn't do it fast enough, to do what we want to do. Anyway, the point is that, okay, we generate these random numbers, and then, yes, Phil, we shuffle a deck, and then we deal from the top of the deck.
Right.
So it's predetermined.
And it is predetermined once we have the deck ordered.
So I was going to flop a set of threes.
You were always flopping a set of threes in that spot.
And it doesn't matter. Yeah, now, I am not an expert on the full tilt shuffle. I know enough about it to know that they do not shuffle a deck. And you could think of that as, do you know how you see on the TV shows where they have the lotto balls, and the balls are like, bouncing around inside the bin, and then they suck one down?
Yeah.
That's essentially how the full tilt shuffle works. So you can think of this cloud of cards flying around inside a plastic bubble. And then when they need a card, they just reach up into this cloud of cards, and they suck one down.
Yeah, with a photon.
No.
Not with a photon with full tilt.
I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, I don't. And the thing is, I don't want to talk about the full tilt random number generator because I know exactly zero about it.
Gotcha.
Cool.
But I do know that they use an approach where they have not pre-shuffled the deck. Obviously, either one works perfectly fine. You can generate your randomness first beforehand and then deal off the top of the deck, or you can generate your randomness on the fly and randomize every time you need a card. It doesn't they both produce strong random sequences.
Or you can do it with a lava lamp.
Pardon me?
Or you can just do it with a lava lamp.
Or you can do it with a lava lamp. You think I'm joking, but
no, I don't. I think you're serious.
And now, so to Phil's question is, can you would you have flopped a set if you had waited half a second longer or half a second shorter to click call? I don't know. And again, you would have to get somebody from Full Tilt to confirm that.
Full Tilt, yeah. Fair enough.
But anyway, the point is we've got these videos going on. You saw the one with Eric. You saw the one with Donna Krellin, who's the treasurer.
Yep.
And then the one that I'm in. There's a couple more coming out. And I think they're just an important step to keep transparency there, to keep the communication flowing. and it really gives people quite literally a look inside the company.
Pokerstars version 7, Lee, has been out a while now. What I think you said 10 or 15% of the people are using it, beta. It's going to be the default browser or the default client very soon. What's the reaction been like to Pokerstars 7 to those who've used it? Have you run into some issues, or is everybody sort of overwhelmingly like it?
Well, I mean, when you bring out a big new fancy, well, let's ask the expert, Phil. Which client are you running?
I tried 7, and I switched back, but only because Table Ninja didn't work with 7. I actually liked 7. I mean, I tried it for a day, and I liked it a lot. I liked that, first of all, at Zoom, it would dim the players that folded. It was a lot easier to see who was still in the hand. And then just the lobby was a lot more customizable, and I really appreciated that because I like to play multiple games and see what tables are available. So that was my one-day impression. I liked it.
There you go. And Phil, how much did we pay you to say that?
Nothing. Well, I don't know. Maybe my photons will fire a little better over the next month or two.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that I would say that the response has been very positive, and yes, 10 to 15% of our players are playing on the PS7 client now, and I think I mentioned to you in the email that would represent, if it were a site unto itself, that would represent like the second largest poker site in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, the feedback is good. Obviously, when you bring out a complex new piece of software like that and you have a few million people playing on it, there's going to be bugs. But that's why we have this beta stage.
Indeed.
And the fact that it's coming out of beta means the bugs have trickled off to an asymptotic level, and people are really digging it. I would tell you that the time, once I started playing on it, for play money, anytime I'm on the client for testing or, just splashing around and play money for giggles or whatever, I totally play on 7.
Yeah.
And in particular, for me and for Phil, for experienced players, the ability to customize the games that you see, the favorites, and the various filters that are available. Man, you can drill down to exactly the games that you want very, very quickly. But I think the thing that we need to think about is not so much Phil and me, because we'll make our way through whatever. But for newbies, the thing, and for guys who play, if not guys and gals, if you're playing once a month, you're not going to remember how to do stuff, right? And the fact of the matter is that we want it to be easy for people. When you sit down to play Candy Crush, it's pretty obvious when you first start playing what you want to do. And to be frank, in traditional poker clients, it isn't obvious what you want to do if you're new to it. And the things like the easy seat and the quick seat that comes up when you first bring up the client and there's Daniel Negreanu saying, okay, here's a table, click on this and you'll be playing poker.
Right.
That's the holy grail. And, don't worry about Phil Galfond or Lee Jones. We'll find our way there. But you want somebody who's new to the game or who comes back once a month and doesn't remember how they got there in the first place to be able to click on that table and play poker. And it's really good at that.
It'd be interesting to know, Lee, the metrics on that easy seat. I'd be curious to know. I guess you're going to need to roll it out to the entire poker population before you'll get reasonable data that you can use. But the metrics on those casual players and how often they use that easy seat would be interesting to see.
I think quick seat is actually the term we want.
Sorry, quick seat. Yeah.
And I think you're right. And if you think about it, the people that are on the PS7 client at this point are probably the more experienced players, right? Because they've had to kind of go to the effort to say, yeah, give me some of that.
Yeah.
But once we roll it out to the default, which is, and I can't give you a specific date now, but except to say that it's real soon. Once it becomes the default, then as you say, we'll get the data on how the new and the infrequent players like it and whether they use the quick seat. And I think that is where the rubber's going to hit the road. And unless I'm very much mistaken, they're going to, it's going to really speed the path for people saying, okay, I'd like to play some poker. There's a nice big poker table. Let me click on that and see what happens.
You just got around to reading a poker book, I understand, from a few years back. What book was it?
So I don't get to read that many poker books, okay? But in this case, I actually took the time to read a poker book because a friend of mine said, you got to go read this book, and it's Ed Miller's 1% book. And the reason I thought about it when I got ready to do the show tonight was because he basically starts out with, how do you think Phil Galfond does this? And and I thought, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I'd like to know how Phil Galfond does it. And it's not, and the thing is that like most of these things, it's like it's kind of like saying, well, how does Yo-Yo Ma play the cello? It's like, well, I could give you some of the pointers, but he's still Yo-Yo Ma and you're not. And you sort of live with that. And that's fine. And I understand that I'm never going to be Phil Galfond when I play poker. And that's cool. But I have to say that from reading Ed's book, it was the first poker book that I've read in many years where I just had this sort of aha thing. And it was really exciting to read a book about poker. And I would say that to tell you how strongly I felt about it was the last time I felt a book about poker gave me an aha moment like that was when I read Tommy Angelo's books.
Nice.
Yeah.
And which, are totally orthogonal to everything else you ever read in poker. Mm-hmm. This is not orthogonal the way Tommy Angelo is. But to me, it says, this is how the guys that give you the most trouble at the table are thinking. And that was really cool because I would read it and I would think to myself, that's it. That is why that guy and that guy that I play against on some amount of occasions makes my life miserable. And when you have that moment, it was like, wow, it reminded me why I think poker is fun, why it's interesting, why there's this real depth to the game. And maybe more than the fact that I felt it was going to make me a better poker player, the fact that I had found yet another level of depth in this game that I love. It's like you're in some kind of you're in an adventure game, right? And you go through a tunnel, and suddenly there's a whole brand new set of caverns that you've never been in, and you say, "Oh, wow, this is fun again." So, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair enough, Lee. Thanks so much. Appreciate the input. Have a safe flight back to the Isle of Man, and we'll talk to you soon.
It's good to talk to you, gentlemen. Thanks very much.
Let's get the password in. This is the Pokerstars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. It is $1.10. You can find it in the private tab on the Pokerstars 7 lobby. Look for the private tab in the tournament section. It is 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Add it to your Sunday grind at $1.10. Pokerstars adds $500 into the prize pool. The password for this tournament that I do talk about is going to be Mission. It's Mission Week, MISSION. The password. Let's play Omaha 8 or better. 6 max. That's what we're going to play.
You're going to take everybody's money?
I'm going to just run this thing over. 6 max Omaha 8 or better is going to be the game, and Mission is the password. Lots of people to thank this week. First, I want to thank Steve Ruddock from Online Poker Report for coming in talking about his article in the first segment. Lee Jones from the Isle of Man and the world's biggest poker site, Pokerstars.com. Ross on the controls. Thank you as always. Yes, and Phil Galfond for coming in and co-hosting. Farah Fath, his lovely girlfriend, for adding her 2 bits in, and Ben Tollerene for coming in and sitting in with everybody.
The epic Ben 86.
The Ben B-Tech, yes, 86. Thanks so much to everybody. We're in Macau next week, so we're not sure 100% when we'll get that show up or when we'll record it. It'll depend when we get over there and what's available to us and what tournaments are going on. But we will get a show up next week. Probably later in the week, I'm guessing, and
it'll be Pokercast Mobile.
It'll be Pokercast Mobile. That's right.
Maybe they'll link us through the Pokerstars mobile app.
That'd be nice. That would be exponential growth in our listener base. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do the November 9 final table. MJ is going to come in to the studio to talk about that. We'll do it probably, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday. depending when MJ can get some time off. But that'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, to you as well. Hope you enjoy that show. That was a lot of fun for us to do. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully I can do this in one take.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 Pokercast has been presented to you by the Pokerstars VIP